Wrong transition. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charity Stream Week night number 4. We are doing Charity Stream Week as the Charity Stream Week title and intro of this Charity Stream Week stream implies. And there are 3 different animal shelter organizations I've been doing Stream Week for down in the description below. I believe wish list number 3 has actually been cleared off. So, round of applause. Good job, everyone. And think it's 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure still have a couple items left, so that's the goal. By the end of tomorrow night would be the last night of Charity Stream Week. I hope to have all the lists cleared because there are dogs and cats and other critters that need blankies and snackies and toys and food bowls and pee pads and what are those things for gerbils? Wood chips or whatever, the bedding thing. I know one place needed a thing of bedding. So that's
we need it real bad.
That's what we're doing, and this is one of the dogs from one of the shelters that has decided to join me. So tonight I'm hanging with the lads, Jeremy and Ben. I'm sure they need no introduction. Ben's a cat now, I guess. This is what happens when you let him in a meeting.
How do I do this? Oh,
I don't know. I've never messed with these effects.
My thing is actually the one that I've been using and nobody ever notices it is like the effect. I have an effect on right now and it's actually just a photo of exactly what's behind me.
Oh my god! So that way, if your studio's a wreck, you could just turn that on.
Yeah,
nice.
Check out how clean my studio is. Just kidding.
There they are. I could be a feathery dinosaur.
Yep,
that's pretty you. There's a YouTuber that I follow, Kaylin Conrad, who does really great leftist content. And
wow,
Cameron, that's beautiful.
Horrifying.
That's so cute. Look at you.
I don't like this at all.
You're like a little toothless.
Can I be a strawberry? What?
Oh
fuck yeah! No. This is it. This is Charity Stream Week. Fuck you all.
Jeez. And can you generate a background on yours, or do I only have that because I have like Google's data AI thing?
I do have an option for background.
I love the way that Cameron's like, yeah, I just got this super expensive camera.
Yeah, I just bought like a $4,000 camera, and I'm like, I'm a strawberry.
A hospital after
this sort of
the
thing.
apocalypse.
That looks terrible on mine.
In it.
Oh, look at those. Look at that.
After the apocalypse.
Interesting. So yeah, I can do that, and I can have a blur and whatever. So that's tonight's stream is us trying to fuck with Google Meet. Apparently. So we are here to answer.
That statement's a lot more fucked up if you spell it MEAT. We're just gonna fuck with Google Meet.
Yeah, we're gonna fuck with Google's Meet. So that's tonight. We are here for your questions. You have questions, we have answers. I believe that was the title of the thumbnail. So
okay.
Not Gabe wants to know, I have a question for you guys. How have your days been so far? Why don't we go around the room and share about our days, lads?
Mine's been pretty boring. I've been testing out free DAWs, just because I was like, I want to cover some stuff of free products rather than paid ones. And I've been testing out free DAWs, and so it's been with learning a new DAW sucks. And
but learning several new DAWs, that really sucks.
I've been trying to just do that, and then my neighbor's also got a rooster, which is really annoying. And now I'm kind of, although now I'm starting to like it a bit, and so I played with the rooster a little bit.
Wait, do you dislike roosters in general, or was this particular one not to your liking?
Everybody dislikes roosters if they like sleeping past like 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. But roosters are actually, they don't seem to be as much dicks as they are when there's hens around. Like when I've seen roosters with hens, they're like super mean, but this one just, I used to have chickens, and so I still have a bunch of like dried up mealworms in my garage, so I've just been feeding them, and
that's where I keep my mealworms.
Yeah, you don't want to keep them inside.
Right, yeah, then they get all moist. It's not right.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God.
Have you found any of the free DAWs that have really like stood out to you so far?
Spoiler alert, so far Cakewalk is pretty great. I'm pretty amazed.
I had the same thought.
Yeah.
Alicia wanted to get into music like a couple years ago again, and I downloaded a version of Cakewalk, and it has like a channel strip built into it, and it was like actually
It's sick, yeah.
surprisingly great.
And I'm bummed out that I'm worried that they're not going to develop it anymore because they're doing the Cakewalk Next, and now Sonar is becoming a paid product, I guess. And so I've been trying to get clarification on that without being like, "Hi, I'm making a video about your for-profit company," and so, but I don't know if I'm going to get that far. But yeah, Cakewalk so far, maybe something will ruin it though. I've only been playing with it for a few hours, and you know.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed because it worked with like virtual instruments and stuff, and it looked professional. You know, I think that's kind of important because like I feel like a lot of the free tools, some of them just they look free. You know what I mean? And it's just not as like, oh, I feel like I can really do something with this. Whereas Cakewalk was like, oh, this is like legit.
Somebody asked if our door is on the list. Yeah, I've spent 2 days with our door.
I thought you meant our. Okay, yeah.
Our door. Yeah. I've just been drinking coffee with the door.
We've really just been taking the time to get to know each other. You know, taking it slow.
Bringing it whiskey at night. The door just drinks a lot, unfortunately, and then it gets kind of like just a little. It goes a little too far with like the jokes. You know, they get racial sometimes. They get like it's just kind of door.
You can't even
don't give the door.
Comedy's not even illegal anymore. The door, like
the door is gonna get fucking canceled, man. If it keeps going in that direction. Yeah.
So when did Cakewalk go free? Because I used to use it back in the day. I think I actually I must have either cracked it or I probably didn't buy it at that point. But yeah, what happened to it?
I had it. I used to use it with General MIDI and like.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when they got acquired by like Gibson or something that it became free?
No, Gibson bought it, and I'm not sure what they did with it, and then it became. And then BandLab bought it.
Right.
And BandLab, I'm not really sure what their deal was back then when they first bought it, like what their goal was. It almost seemed like a humanitarian effort to make like a good free DAW.
And now there's like BandLab Mobile and stuff too, right?
So I used to think that BandLab was, I'm going to mispronounce the CEO's name if I say it on the stream without practicing it. But I used to think that BandLab was like subsidized by palm oil money because like the CEO he's a really nice guy. He's the son of a palm oil plantation owner, I believe, in Malaysia. And I believe could be something else. I don't want to be wrong about it, but and so there's a lot of money going. You know, it's kind of like the Bruce Wayne of the East, I guess. And like, but it appears from looking at their numbers, it appears that they have no issues with raising funds on their own as a separate entity and stuff. And so, yeah. But
I've used it though because I feel like I've mostly known it as being like a free thing.
If you want to make music in browser. Then that's kind of the best way to go right now that I know of is BandLab. Like you don't have to even have it. I mean, it runs amazingly in browser. Like I'm blown away by it. Yeah.
The guy also owns NME, the media company, and
and a store. What do you call it?
Musical instruments, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild. He's the son of the richest person in Malaysia.
Yeah,
making that palm oil.
Yeah, super nice guy. I've not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get like in because obviously, like somebody like that, you like with voice swap, you want them to be on like the right side of AI where they're paying people royalties and stuff for data sets. And so I've. Yay! Thanks, Jay.
Oh shit!
All right.
He bought Gawker as well.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently in November, Gawker sold to founder of Singapore's Caldecott Music Group.
Huh.
Wild.
Yeah. I believe that somewhere down that line they own Music Tech, and they've
so
been
there's like this weird secret, not like Malaysian underworld, but like hidden world of like this
well, so like
Batman
here's
character of music production.
Yeah, something interesting that a lot of people don't know is that like, so like NME, that's music tech as well. And then there's also a massive, like the Guitar Center of that region is also owned by the same entity. And so one would think, I feel like in America, if that were the case, music tech would never ever publish a story that's critical of Music Tribe or Behringer, because not only are they hiring people there, but they're also, they have a store that's selling all the stuff and they want to sell more of it because but that is not the case. They have like full clearance to practice journalism without any sort of strings attached, which is pretty cool. I think like I've privately been in defense of music tech a little bit in our conversations, and that's mostly wise because I'm like, they actually have like gone out of their way to kind of be like, they have some ridiculous articles sometimes, as not quite as many as some other places, but like their primary writer seems to be like very very interested in being a good journalist, so that's good.
So how's your day, Jeremy?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I worked on a video this morning for a company called Wave Alchemy who makes plugins. Got a little rough cut out to them. Been working on an album. I finally jumped back into working on it. It's one of those things where like it's all the tracks have been around for over a year now. And I was like, this is going to be the album that comes out in 2023. And then a bunch of shit happened. And then it just like, now we're at the end of the year. And it's like, oh shit, this isn't done. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, next year, that's fine. So I'm diving back into like the folder that has all these tracks in it and the little like spreadsheet that I started to make for it. It's like, what state are these in? And you get, I don't know if this is anybody else's experience, but if you put down a project for a while and come back to it, there's some really great things that happen and some really bad things that happen.
Yeah.
Good things is like, you'll be surprised at how far some of the tracks are along if you've given them significant time.
Well, it gives you that renewed like objectivity too, to come back and be like, this doesn't suck nearly as bad as I thought it did.
Yep. And all of the let's say all the tools and knowledge that you've amassed since you put that project down, you can now bring to it, which is great. There's plugins that I have access to now that I didn't when I was working on that, and I'm like, oh yeah, this would be perfect for this. So like that. The bad thing is though, like some tracks are just like, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? And you have to like completely undo.
This seemed like a good idea at the time.
And you'll have, in some rare cases, some stuff will be incompatible. Like, and I love Native Instruments and I love my contact at Native Instruments, but they did a real big fucky wucky with Complete Control. They released a new version of Complete Control, which is their sort of wrapper for everything that's NKS compatible.
And that's for their like MIDI controllers and stuff, right? I've never messed with like Complete Control. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's like a system, like it's a plugin, right? And if you load stuff through Complete Control, which includes like all of their stuff, and Arturia's stuff can be loaded in Complete Control,
right? Because I know Synapse, like Dune 3 is NKS compatible, so it must load through that.
So think about kind of like how like the UVI workstation works, like how it's like a big place where all of these different things can be brought in and loaded as long as they are compatible with the UVI workstation.
Oh, so it's like a contact for your contact.
Yep. Okay. And all the other things too. So you can use a tagging
Core.
It is like Core, and we all know what happened to Core. It just got completely like. And so here's the fucked up thing. Like Complete Control 3 came out, and there is no backwards compatibility, and you can't have both of them on your computer at the same time. So any Complete Control 2 instance, after you've installed Complete Control 3, is a black box. Like it doesn't load, and you have no idea what was in it out of all the NKS compatible things that were in this container. And so I was like, in some cases I could kind of guess, and in some cases eventually I ran into like a track that had like 3 or 4 instances of Complete Control 2 in it. and I didn't know what they were. Like,
and there's no error message that's like can't instantiate this, and this. It's just like nope.
It just says that it can't load basically what amounts to the wrapper, which is complete control. It doesn't tell you what's in it, right? Like what you loaded in it.
Yeah.
So smart. Like, okay, I'll downgrade, replace these all with their with an instance that will be compatible going forward. And it's just like that. I don't like it when things like that happen. That's a real bummer.
Yeah, it's like one I pirated a lot of things for that reason. Like I'll buy it, but then install the pirated version because I'm so worried that it's not going to be compatible with the future. It used to be a much bigger problem when I wrote music for ads because they would come back. I would, submit something that I wrote 2 years ago, and they'd come back and be like, "Hey, could you just like change the drum a little bit or something, and then we'll pay you all this money for it?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay." And then I'd load it up, and it'd be like nothing worked, and I'd be freaking out.
I've had to do that a couple times where I had to load, like an old session that had some older version of a plugin, and it's like I just had to download the like pirated version of the older thing so that the session would even work.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it's annoying. And like sometimes I get why that happens when you're just upgrading to like a totally new system for a plugin, or something like it's a massive like ground up update. But yeah, I wish there was a better way to handle that in DAWs or something of just, well, I guess, the old tip is just like print everything to audio.
Yep. Print everything to audio in Ableton. Freeze I'm going to end up freezing everything now before I put the sessions to bed.
And Reaper makes that easy too, because in Reaper I can export like the final thing, but I can do multiple renders at the same time. So I've kind of made a habit of my sessions where I'll render the final stereo file, but I'll add a second render of just render all of the stems.
Yeah,
which smart. And it works, but it doesn't have the flexibility where, like if Ben mentioned, if someone was like, "Hey, could you go back and tweak this?" All I have is just the audio file. I don't have like if it was a plugin from 5 years ago, like Alchemy or something, when that used to run on Windows, then I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
I like how in this always happens in my streams. Like somebody will join and they'll be like, "What's going on here?" And like, and I always feel like, what am I supposed to say to that? But I realize that the question's not for me. It's just saying hi to the chat. But I'm always thinking like, well, just watch, But
this
it's
is what's happening.
Yeah.
This is.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
This is what you're here for.
Yeah. It reminds me of.
It's so fucking much. I hate that. Like it turns your head.
It's so terrible.
It reminds me of we're at that restaurant, that Persian restaurant in LA with Polyon.
Yeah.
And one of the employees was like, "What's going on? Like, what goes on in here?" And then like another one was like, "Oh, so they exchange banknotes for food." It's really very odd Polish humor.
Jay wants to know, and Jay, by the way, is the creator of MIDI News, which is available on Steam, and it's an alternative sequencer program that you should really check out.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh man, you got to check it out.
It's super Ben. Cool. Got to get into it. So Jay wants to know, should I buy a Soma Cosmos?
I think so, but I've never used one. Ben's used one, right?
I think Jay's Pulsar looks lonely.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's great, especially if you're like into making reverb out of phase music, which is kind of what's happening. Like if you're making reverb out of delays, then
I got to goof with it a bit at NAMM, and that kind of seemed to be the thing where it's almost like the microcosm where it just does this thing really, really exceptionally well. And I feel like I couldn't justify the Cosmos because like that's just one thing it does really, really well, and I don't know how often I would use that, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing an instrument through it, like I would like it more as a guitar pedal than like a production instrument.
That's what I was thinking too. Is like I wonder what my like ukulele or something would sound like through that. Just to have,
you would end up like making beds for a track. Like that's what would happen. Is you'd end up just making something that like, oh, I want to use this as the bed for a bigger idea.
That's kind of what I do with the Euro Bureau. Is I have just like some patches I've made on the Euro Bureau that are just these. Not like, it's not like reverby wash, but it's that thing where it's like, it sounds kind of granular, but kind of spacey, but there's just so much motion and like things happening where just, you let that cycle for 4 or 5 minutes and then you're like, oh fuck, what if I put a piano on this? Or like, oh man, that'd be cool if I had like a synth, like just I don't know, it's that weird like blank state of your brain where like You know when you're like taking a fat shit and you just come up with the best idea for a track? I think that's what tools like that serve for. Is you're just like, I don't know, you're doing nothing and you're so bored that just this idea clicks in. Yeah. It's my equivalent of shower thoughts. It's shitting thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get a Soma Cosmos and a ukulele and put them in your shitting
take
room.
A fat shit with them.
And just sit there and noodle for a bit, and you have something good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that answers that. Got to go buy it for Christmas. Blaze says, "Love your channels. Keep going." Thank you, Blaze. Let's see.
Walking Feather, you got your tempura. I'm very stoked. I hope that you enjoy it. I'm really curious. I need to check back in with the makers of that because I don't. I finished up my content for them, and they were like, "Okay, have a nice life." And I know I need to like follow up and make sure I get the whatever. I need to get the firmware that's going to be like the release firmware, and I also need to get whatever the rest of the factory content is because. I guess they had some other sound designers on the project, and I don't know what else there is for it. So I hope.
Did you do sound design on that?
Yeah, I did a bunch of preset banks for it.
Oh, cool.
Okay, I turned that. I had a meeting about it, but I was so overwhelmed with the montage M, with like.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, that I.
Yeah, it was right up my alley. I absolutely adore what do you call it? Granular stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, granular's great.
It's so
I would like to play with one. It sounds great. But...
Brian,
are you both? You're both going to? Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
You're both going to NAMM, right?
Yes.
NAMM. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'm speaking on Sunday. At the main stage with somebody else, and then I have a couple panels on the third floor. Yeah, one on quantum computing.
Normal.
Yeah, nice thing to wake up and do. But,
the one industry hack the pros don't want you to know for next level MIDI packs.
Yep.
Quantum computing. All chords exist simultaneously. It's like black MIDI but better. Yeah, no, I'll be going to NAMM. I wasn't gonna go. I was gonna just go with Ben for the doc project and then go home. Just because, like, I don't know. I don't do, gear stuff and whatever, so I don't really care. But then I found PSP is going to be there, so I'm going to work their booth for the show, just, to hang. Because I like some of the networking things that happen at NAMM. I just hate NAMM.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like, there's just those little meetups, and, like, that talking in person is sometimes really good. And then, getting to, like, meet up with other people is always fun, and seeing, like, the other YouTube folks or music folks. But it's just the NAMM aspect of it that I don't like.
It's so fucking loud, and there's so much shit. Like
you gotta go up. You got to get up on the third floor, man. If you have to make number 2 at NAMM, if you just want to take a break.
Oh, is that where Ben's secret private potty is?
No, dude. I glitched into the walls.
Oh yeah.
Not this year, but the year previous, if you recall. I almost got kicked up by security that year.
Oh, right,
like,
yeah.
The
PSP booth is over in, like, the pro audio section, which, generally speaking, is pretty chill. Yeah. So that'll be nice, because, doing UVI last year was just a ton. And, the year prior to that, too, was much more chill. But, yeah, I just don't like the NAMminess of NAMM. But, it'll be cool to meet people and hang out and get some footage and, give me an excuse to justify this stupid camera.
I like how the military band has a booth. That's always fun.
Yeah, I saw they had one last year too, like the Army band,
the
Navy band,
and the post office. They're always there.
And Google had one too, but it was just like a meeting booth, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. This year, they have a new CEO, and they have some new. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to slowly get into the 21st century.
Right.
And
Google?
NAMM.
Oh, damn.
But like my biggest, any sort of like meeting I've had with them or any sort of consulting thing, I've just been like, you guys need to absolutely be saying everywhere that you're a nonprofit organization and what your nonprofit does, because everybody just thinks. I thought for years that like NAMM was just the biggest cash cow ever, and everybody the entire
presents like when you go for the first time, you're like, oh my god, this place must be just like drowning in money.
Yeah, but if you look at their 990, it's like Nope, you're paying like when you pay for a booth at NAMM, you're literally paying for. I mean, you're making Anaheim Convention Center dirty rich, and they should move away from there. But you're also funding everything from music cares to music education programs to all sorts of stuff.
Because NAMM itself is just kind of like an umbrella thing for like multiple.
Yep. Yeah, and there's just like their biggest fundraiser is just that convention. But
where do you think they could go, Ben?
I thought about
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, like they could probably stay in California, and just be maybe further out towards like Indio or something. Like I'm sure that there's a convention center out there that might be better suited and less greedy than Anaheim Convention Center is. Because I've looked at their sheets before, and I can't like give specifics, but like so for example, one of my biggest complaints has been like, there should be high-speed internet everywhere at NAMM. Everybody should be doing a live stream of everything. Every booth should be doing a live stream. Like YouTube should be intolerable on NAMM week. Every single person, you know what I mean? Like in audio YouTube, every damn channel should be nothing but NAMM the entire time, because like we would totally pay our own way there every time if that were the case, if we could get tons of great content from it.
Right. And that's the thing is like as a, I guess we're ultimately kind of like media people. NAMM itself, like if you wanted to go to NAMM to make a NAMM video, it's just chaos and it's going to be terrible and no one's going to watch it. Yeah.
So Anaheim Convention Center has 10 gigabit up and down. They have, it might be higher than that. To my knowledge, they have at least 10 gigabit up and down. For their client to use it per day, it's like the cost of a house.
Jesus.
It's just like, okay, and you have a nonprofit organization. It's like, well, do we fund these 2 nonprofit schools for a year, or do we give Venus Theory and
internet
Ben Jordan the internet? Yeah, and so it's like, it's ridiculous.
Brian and Smadger want to know, I guess kind of a similar question. When is the first Red Jordan Theory album dropping? / when is the next audio project with you guys?
Guys, I mean, you guys are working on a project soon.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, we are kind of scoring a documentary.
Yeah, Ben and I are co-scoring the documentary thing. That's kind of the collaborative thing, and then
I guess we're co-shooting a documentary
right.
too.
Yeah, I have this big new stupid thing to do that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I really want to like dive out and do, because I've never collaborated, and really, unless it's been like something where it's been like 90% me or 5% me. But yeah, like Mr. Bill, he's been wanting to work on something forever. I really would like to just release an album of collaborations with like Mr. Bill, Imogen Heap, y'all, Richard Devine. I mean, yeah, there's Machine Drum. There's so many people where it's been like in the talks forever. And
I feel like it's one of those things where it's just, especially creatively, the stars have to align on so many different aspects to do like a big multifaceted collaboration, because not only does everyone have to be like available, but everyone has to be in the right like mood time frame creatively to be like, let's, I'll write 3 songs, because that's not something, at least, especially when it comes to like your music or whatever, it's not something that you could just pick up and like do. If you're writing if you're writing like ad music or whatever, it's a little easier just to be like, okay, I need to pitch, get 3 songs done this week to pitch to, editing houses or whatever. But yeah, to get 3, 4, 5 people to collab on like one thing is a lot. So no plans for like a massive collaboration, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll all cross pollinate somehow.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with either of you, honestly.
Right. You're both terrible.
This is as close as I'll get to working with you.
Never again. If we were all dinosaurs, which dinosaur would we be?
Oh, there's a lot of different dinosaurs. Let's see. Top 100 cool dinosaurs. I'm looking it up right now. I don't know.
Would be a fuzzy velociraptor.
I'm gonna pick number 1. That's it.
Fuzzy. What is this dinosaur called? I think it's literally just called feathery dinosaur. I would be a feathery dinosaur. Apparently,
you are a feathery dinosaur.
Oh, a bird.
An ichthyorus, is that what they're called? There's too many dinosaurs to pick from. Like, look at this list. It's like there's this list here. Oh, this is a dinosaur toy blog. Very cute. I don't know. I used to know so much about dinosaurs when I was a kid, and now I don't know shit about dinosaurs. I could tell you when I was a kid probably, but now I don't know.
I always like the
Probably
what's it, the
like a little-
Quetzalcoatlus, the super giant pterodactyl looking thing, because it's like a giraffe bird. I think those are ridiculous and great.
What do we got here? I'm looking at it like a little thing. It's like a tiny little ones. Archaeopteryx.
Oh,
There,
Archaeopteryx, yeah, little
be an
bird flight things.
Yeah, why not?
I think Ben gives me, I don't know, Triceratops maybe.
I'm not sure. I just put in an image for a white room with dozens of dead dinosaurs.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, it's
Called a
just,
museum.
yeah. Thanks, Bard. I wonder how detailed you could get with this. Like, I wonder if you could say like a medical diagram
Walking
of
Feather
a
says
smoking
they
device.
changed the names of dinosaurs since we were a kid. Fuck, they can't do that.
Oh, change the names of dinosaurs. Oh, my voice is getting.
Oh,
lost.
here comes the woke mob changing the dinosaur names.
Oh no. I think I need to turn off like my noise gate or something maybe. There we
What
go.
happened?
Whatever. I think my voice was a little too quiet or something.
Rita Broth has asked how many notes of polyphony do we think we have together? 3.
At least 3.
Yeah, I think we have 3 at the most. I want to know.
Yeah, but like, what if we whistle and hum? What if we do that?
Oh yeah, throat singing. We could have harmonics. Harmonics are
Sick.
notes.
We're a deep mind.
Brontosaurus is now Brachiosaurus, but Brachiosaurus was already a thing. What happened to Brachiosaurus?
I thought it was determined that they weren't real, but now they've renamed it or something.
The Land Before Time was a lie. That, oh my god,
Land Before Time, yeah. Petrie, man. I still have like an inner hatred of Petrie. He's the most annoying and pathetic character to ever exist.
How do you guys feel in general about Don Bluth movies versus like, because that was a Don Bluth. Wait, was it? I don't want to talk shit. Like,
I don't even know. I've never seen it.
Who did? Is it Don Bluth?
The OG Land Before Time.
It was a Don Bluth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there was like the Disney animation and there was the Don Bluth animation. So like, Don Bluth stuff tend to be a bit darker and weirder.
Well, because the first one was like really sad. I remember that, where like the parents die and stuff. But the later ones are much more kid-ish. Because I watched them with my nephew a little while ago, and like, you know, Land Before Time 8 was really stupid. Where it's like,
holy shit, there's so many of them.
Yeah, because I watched a couple with my nephew, and it was like, you know, Land Before Time 8, Littlefoot takes his Jeep to the car wash. It's like, what the fuck is this?
There is so many Land Before Times. The first one came out in 1988, and it went all the way up to 2016.
Oh wow, they were still making them. I thought they kind of quit in like the 2000s.
There's 12, 13, 14. There's 14 Land Before Time movies.
Wouldn't Land Before Time just be like nothing but blackness?
No,
yes,
it was eating tree stars and Petrie and Chomper.
I feel like time existed before the dinosaurs. Not to get
technical. You should get your facts straight.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
You should get an education and watch a movie, Ben.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but like this was not part of my childhood.
Secret of NIMH was extremely good.
I think that's the one. I think that's the one my wife is terrified of. Where
she was scary.
Like, okay, yeah. It must be that one because I swear that was a movie she told me about. Where she's like, I watched that as a kid and was traumatized for like weeks.
And then there's the even worse one, which is Watership Down, which is like just incredibly traumatizing. Yeah, good stuff.
Wow. They're still cranking them out, huh?
Albert Katstein wants to know, any tips on making templates to personalize workflow? I assume you all make your own.
I don't make templates unless it's for live recording stuff in.
I was going to say, I don't really think I have a template. I have a couple templates for like speed writing if it's something very quick where I have like...
just said you didn't have them. And
well,
then
when I'm writing my stuff, but if I have like something where it has to be orchestral, I do have an orchestral thing just like set
Tell us about that. I'm curious about that because as someone, I'm being asked to probably score a game, and I got to do a little bit of spec work.
Okay, yeah.
I'm curious. Like, tell me about your orchestral template. What's it look like?
I think orchestral is the only one I have a template for, and I do have one other Reaper template for hardware that just has the routing already set, but it doesn't have like, you know, plugin templates and stuff. Yeah, so I have that, and I have the orchestral template. But otherwise, if I'm just writing, I just open Reaper and start. But orchestral template, I think it's useful because it's just, you know, it's a lot of loading plugins to like ideate during an orchestral session, and I'm not particularly a fan of key switches in libraries. I don't
Oh,
know
really?
why. I just find that weird.
Do you prefer to like? I mean, it's sort of. I can kind of understand that because it's a very crucial piece of information that is hidden within an interface that you have to remember.
And
whereas if you just have like a bunch of different channels in Reaper that are like, here's my, Marcato, here's my
pretty much. So
pizzicato,
that's exactly. I have like a folder of strings, a folder of brass, a folder of woodwinds, a folder of percussion. So it's like the strings I have like sustain ensemble, solo cello, solo viola, whatever, and then I have like staccato and whatever, like just a couple other articulations that I probably might need.
I would love to know how much fucking RAM that project eats up when you load it. That must be obscene.
It's probably a lot, yeah, because I don't remember, but I think I have it set up to where the tracks load unloaded, but the plugins are there. I think was how I ended up doing it. So it's like I have contact and stuff on the channels, but it's like bypassed. So that way, when I load the template, it actually loads pretty quickly. And that way it's not trying to like load up all the things. Oh my god. God damn you, Google. No.
You did it. I could call you and you could just like reshare it.
Okay. Do we want to do that?
I do pay for it. I'm not a cheapskate.
I swear. Then what do I pay Google for? Damn you.
Buddy, you can't just beg Google for free videos.
Right.
You gotta pay. You gotta pay them.
Okay, why pay Google like $200 a year for 50-minute calls? Okay, yeah. Do you want to give me a call back and we'll do that?
Yes, although I'm gonna need both of your and just put it in the Signal chat.
All right,
both of your Gmails or whatever. Or I'll just give you a link. Never mind, I can do that.
Because I'm a cheap bastard, we will be right back.
Okay, bye.
Is the link the same?
We're back.
How does that work?
All right, I think we should be back. Am I back on the tablet? We're back. Okay, yeah, my bad. I'm a cheap bastard apparently. But yeah, so template wise, that's kind of my thing. Is just here's all the stuff I'm probably gonna need, and that way I can just turn it on and do it really quick. Because then I know like, oh, I need staccato. Then I could pop on the staccato track, doot, and then. Especially just for sounds, like I know I have certain orchestral percussion libraries I just use whenever I'm doing that type of stuff. So that's just a speed thing, and it's mostly just because like most orchestral stuff uses a lot of the same instrumentation.
Oh yeah. I want to get off the stream though. I want to ask what you're using because I mean I just did a huge vetting of all of the libraries I have, and I have some stuff that I really like, but man, it's actually really difficult to keep track of all of the different articulations and in the different libraries and like, oh yeah, this one has really good harmonic playback and like or harmonics or like some kind of specific articulation that is like
mine's pretty simple, but I know some of my friends in Nashville where they run what is that? Not Spectrasonics, East West and stuff. They run it on like a separate computer just to load their sessions and stuff on it.
I never thought that unless you have like an insane deadline and are like busting out a demo really quick, like really, I mean, I still, for most uses, I'm still hiring like session players.
Oh, it's not. I can't do that at all.
Like, yeah, the stuff I've done does not have that sort of allocation where it's like, all right, just strings that go under some dialogue. Cool.
I might be able to get you a link to, or get you an account on Musiversal.
It's not. It's not that I don't have access. It's on an access issue.
Long waiting list.
It's how I work. I need to sit down, I need to write, and I need to combine sounds, and I need to understand how it works together. I guess what you are maybe insinuating is that like, you can use these libraries to kind of sketch, and then you hire an orchestra to do the rest of it.
Right.
That is so far beyond my, concept of anything. Because there's a part of this that like, you also have to think of, and that is you have to actually score it. You have to create sheet music for it, and that's not something that a lot of people, including myself, have an aptitude for at all. Like that's
right.
I don't know.
Times I've ever done that, I've just used Cubase where it automatically converts it to sheet music, and I'll just hand it to people. Be like, "Can you just play this? If this,
I've done
this
that,
is
like,
probably right."
I've converted like when I'm just when I don't feel like going through it note by note. I've converted MIDI to score. You just have to ask them like, do you like majors or flats and stuff like that. But and then I'll perform it on a harmonium, not a harmonium. Sorry, the keyboard that you blow into.
Melodica.
Yeah, because that's like a great way to like to just be like, here's how I want it to sound. You could go like, or whatever, and then I'll get this thing.
Yeah, but I was
it's out. Hell yeah. From like 2 weeks ago or a month ago now. This thing's been sitting next to me. Yeah.
That's what I bring to every writing session. That's my first instrument.
Jared, hold on. Jared, no, it's not going to. AI will not completely replace man-made music.
No.
Without that's not going to happen.
But yeah, I guess to answer the question on templates, I guess
the next 4 hours ranting on that.
Right. I guess on templates, it's like if it's something that helps you to create something faster, then it's useful. But I don't like the idea of templates because I don't like being locked into like one way of looking at a situation. I have
an anecdote for that. It's just like I've gone through a number of different like setups in all of the places where I've called, a home studio. And,
right. And I think we all have, like we've all, especially between the three of us, we've all moved, but everybody's like moved studio once or twice probably. And it's like, it's a pain in the ass.
Well, and so like, with modular here, there's a lot of things that I could normalize in terms of just hooking up like clocks, stuff like that. Things that you think, oh yeah, this should all just be like ready to go. The fact of the matter is like I found that any sort of like setup like thing, like templatization of hardware, whether or not it's like something over here or something on this side, it immediately makes my job like less fun somehow. Like I would rather start from scratch than have.
Right. Yeah, there is something in like the systemization of the process where it's like it just becomes mechanical and boring.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, and it's because that's why I like the hardware template I have, where it's just I know the routing is taken care of, where it's like all that template serves to do is remove the barrier between me and putting the idea down. It doesn't it doesn't load any default patches. It doesn't do anything like that. I just like I can then turn on my computer, open this template, and play the thing I've been playing on my Polybrute or whatever, and get it in, and then start like playing in the session. I don't like to have default patches or whatever. The only like thing I load instantly on every session is like a compressor on the master bus, just for like a little bit of something. Just
my
feedback.
I have channels that are automatically ducked with other ones, but that's in FL Studio because I don't use compression.
Cool.
I just like the way that I master stuff in FL Studio is like I sort of set up everything between EQs and then sending the signal from that send to duck another channel or another EQ parameter. And so
you're not a big like template person either, then just beyond like
the
same
thing. I have
thing.
templates for that setup. Like, the kick drum can always go into channel 10 or channel 11 for me, and that always sends into channel 3, but it's like nobody else. Like people have asked me to make a video on it, and it's like, why though? Like, why would anybody else get into that workflow? Like, it's completely insane. And to my own, it's like,
but it's kind of the same thing though, where it's like that template exists so you could turn on your computer and start making a song, and like you just know how to do it. It's not necessarily that it's all like preloaded with like your go-to patches and things like that.
Right. It'd just be like making a video, giving somebody like really detailed instructions on like how to find this place in the woods where I throw all my trash away.
Right.
Like, why would anybody want to go see that? I don't know. Like,
well, I think just from a psychological standpoint, what they want is insight into you and your creative process. Like, and that is something that they see as part of that. Like, I think there's a lot of questions that get thrown around that are that are highly technical and like you said, like in the end are really just
that's
like,
why I liked your no talking making music video though. It was kind of that little like fly on the wall look at how how does a track work in a Ben Jordan situation.
And it felt weird to like explain it, right? It felt like even if I wanted to, it felt weird to like even sort of be like, so first I did this. Like it's sort of like, oh, you see it, you get the idea, and you could adjust it to how it works. There's a good question here. Do I think what do I think of the Vintage M as a main keyboard? I've been looking at it as a Phantom 06 upgrade. To quickly answer that, I would say that if you don't mind not having an onboard sequencer, like you do have an onboard sequencer, but if you don't mind having the type that you have in a Phantom, like it's not made to make finished tracks, it's more of an arranger sequencer. If you don't mind that, then I can't think of a better option in terms of sound and stability and all of the knobs and faders. Like, they have their own text fields and they have their own animations and stuff. And so for that reason, it's like you load up a patch and you have everything in front of you at once, which is incredibly powerful.
Gemma, thank you for the super chat. I will make a donation for you because of Amazon stupid currency things. Let's see. Looking for other questions. Liking Noxua, Dark Grove, thank you. Cam is the new FL Studio mascot. No, absolutely not. That's Cameron the Strawberry. That's FL Studios. Actually, if I could get the FL Studio fruit thing and then put my face on that, then that would be amazing. Nice EXE, thank you. And yeah, reminder, donation links down in the description. There should be text on the stream for that. A couple more things left to do. Let's see, other questions. Are we loving strawberries? Sure.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get them at the right time when they're not like mushy though.
Strawberry shortcake is pretty good dessert.
I'm just sad because Kroger they forgot to put mine in the order, or they ran out, one or the other.
Oh,
I didn't
bastards. I've done a couple Kroger pickups where they just like don't put something in the order and then they don't say why, and it's like, okay.
Not the pickups. You have to, if they deliver it directly from the warehouse.
Ah, okay. Maybe that's it. Because it was like we ordered a pickup once and I needed like, I don't know, ground beef or something, right? And they just like didn't give it to me, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, that was kind of an integral part of like the fucking thing I'm going to cook. Like, could you give me a heads up that you don't have any?
I'm watching the dog in the background, and it's so fun, just like trapped in a corner. Came out after he heard ground beef.
It's 4:00, and they have a very finely tuned sense of time. So like at 4:00, I usually finish my lessons, and they're like, "All right, you're gonna take us out for fetch." They're kind of in this.
That's my dogs right before dinner time. They're both just like, so where are we at on that food situation?
Mm.
Paul wants to know, do people learn to have emotional responses to particular types of music, or is there an innate quality to certain music that provides certain or provokes certain feelings?
Okay, I'm going to take this a little bit because I think there's a seed to this. I don't want to get too far into like the elements that Ben probably knows more about, but what you have to think about is like the music is made up at least let's talk about Western music. Music is made up of a 12-tone scale, and the chromatic scale itself isn't very musical. It's a bunch of really dissonant notes that has no order together. Like, if you try to play, there's no order of the chromatic scale. What are you doing, freak? Don't eat my carpet. So we create scales like major and minor scales, and from there we have a system to have a more harmony and melody and do kinds of actual music stuff. And within those, there is things that sound more dissonant and things that resolve. And so inherently, because of how we hear, we react to dissonance in a particular way and expect resolution in a particular way. So there is an inherent physical quality to music that is expressed through the way that these tones interact. Outside of that, I don't know.
All that is to say, don't know, bro. Thanks. Ben, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's learned, but it's not that like there was a council that one day was like, these are going to be the notes that we're going to use. Like they are, if you go back far back enough on my channel, you'll see me playing with tubes a lot. It's because they naturally, if you just have like a vacuum tube or something like that,
and you do the whirly thing, right?
Yeah, I mean it plays the Jeopardy theme, and no matter what size it is, it's still always going to be pretty close to being in tune, except for the wolf interval or the wolf fifth, which is like
the tritone?
That's the in Pythagorean tuning, the wolf, like everything sounds in tune to us except for that one note in the scale, and I guess it was called the wolf fifth because like people would describe it as like a wolf howling in the distance out of tune with the rest of the music,
because it's like exact super equal temperament tuning versus like tuning by ear versus tuning like mathematically, and then that's how you generate. There's a wolf fifth, where it's like this ever so slight dissonance that's weird.
There's a particular tuning system that this is from. Like it's not from a current tuning system.
So I mean, but this goes like back to old Greek music, right? Like this goes way back. And so imagine to not have like a chromatic scale, yet you're still like, that one sounds off.
Right.
That's kind of weird because that really didn't come through culture. That's like some sort of like
you're still describing what I was trying to get at. Like basically
I'm describing it from a different perspective. Yeah.
Dissonance exists and consonance exists, and that is just fucking math.
And I think some of it's relative too, because that's why in like Eastern music there's a lot of microtonal stuff, but like culturally that is acceptable and it's like learned and it works. But then like there's natural instances of dissonance that like everyone is uncomfortable with. That's why like the broadcast emergency alert tone, like you're not supposed to play that because it's so like immediately you pick up on it.
Yeah. It's like two tones, emergency broad.
It's like really terrible sounding.
I almost did a video on it at one point of like sounds that are designed to make you uncomfortable because I thought it was really interesting, but I was like, I think this is one of those subjects where I'm interested in it, but it's not really a great YouTube video.
I think you could use that as a seed and do some very interesting things with it because it is in like what is an alarm? Like what is the sound?
And that was kind of the point of like the videos. Like why does a fire alarm piss us off so much? Why does a tornado siren sound the way it does? Because it all stemmed from a conversation I had with my dad where he was getting his master's degree and he had to take, and he's in like structural engineering stuff, and he had to take a class on like music appreciation, and there was this whole section of it on like I think it was like Chinese folk music or something, and it's lots of those like 2-string instruments where they're not fretted. So my dad was like, it just sounds like noise to me, and I thought it was really interesting. Like, oh yeah, that's kind of a thing, isn't it? Where it's like, there's this natural dissonance, but then there's like acceptable social dissonance based on like where you come from musically and culturally, but then there's also like just objectively horrible sound and like what
there's the we were just talking about the emergency broadcast thing. I just want to final up on this because it's like there's a bunch of different versions of them. The one on broadcast television is a two-tone, and it's 853 hertz and 960 hertz sine waves. So through those.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of the radio one.
It's between. This is like the bam bam thing.
Oh no. So I'm thinking of the one that's just like.
Yeah, so it's the bam bam, and then the sustained tone is the two tones, where it's like this really gross interval.
It's roughly a minor second, but those are both of those frequencies are between two tempered notes. So it's microtonal and it's a minor second. So that's gross as shit. And
so
that's why
a minor second, for those of you who don't know, if you play a C and then a C sharp on a keyboard, so the two notes right next to each other, it's grody.
Nah. What about at the end of a C major seventh or something? The B and the C in the end there.
So I learned something really interesting recently, going through a book about music theory, because I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Was it the Beato book?
No. I learned, okay, so we have the major scale, right? And we have that minor seventh, or excuse me, the major seventh right at the end there, and it's extremely dissonant with the C. Like if say it's a C major scale. So you have, C, E, D. Do I have a piano hooked in here? I could play it. Hold on a second. I'll pull it up while I'm explaining. So we have this scale, and the last note of the scale going into the octave is very dissonant because it's a semitone. They're two right to each other, just like we were talking about with the C and the C sharp. So the scale mode that for the minor, the natural minor, you take the scale and you move it up to a note and you get the natural minor. It has a full tone, a tone between the seventh and the octave. So it's not as dissonant. And people back in the day were like, this is great in all this minor scale, but like, we don't get that really powerful resolution between the seventh and the octave. So we're going to come up with a harmonic minor scale. Mm-hmm. And harmonic minor scale takes that seventh and pushes it up a semitone. So now you get the really dissonant sort of like resolution that you would get from the major scale. And then they were like, this is great. We fucking love this. But now you've broken the rule of diatonic scales. And the sixth is now more than a tone and a half step away from the seventh. So we're going to take that sixth, move it up one to get within the rules of these scales. And this is the melodic minor scale. So it's like, fuck, I did not know that. That's super cool.
Huh. Yeah, I always thought that like things like add 9 is interesting ways to bundle up chords, I guess, depending on how you're. Anyway, I feel like without a keyboard without an interactive keyboard,
we should have a music theory, like a music
we should
theory
do a
stream.
Theory stream. Of
just
here's just a thought dump of like our favorite tricks.
Yeah, like because I can pump Piano Tech like right into this stream right now.
You finally got Piano Tech, right?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I did a whole video on it.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's wild.
New 8-Man 3. Hopefully I'm saying that, or Noob Man 3. What should I prioritize as a brand new producer?
Oh my God.
That's an interesting question.
Sex,
drugs, and rock and roll.
Okay, so
Jeremy's like the teacher of the group. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I think that it would be really useful to kind of drill down a little bit into that, like what kind of music do you want to produce, and from there, sort of try to break apart the components of that type of music. Like, so if you wanted to produce, like for instance, like Future Garage, like you would start listening to a lot of pieces of music that were exemplary in that genre, and be like, all right, well, I'm going to listen to drums this time. Like, what's going on with these drums? Like, what are the rhythmic contrivances of the genre, and also what are the qualities of the sounds? And then you sit down and you try to make a beat that with what you think you learned, and you sort of just extrapolate, like, well, not extrapolate, that's the wrong word. You travel through the sort of like bulk of the thing you're trying to produce, the music, the genre, whatever, and try to pay attention, really, really laser focused to the different parts of it, and understand how they're made, either by using your ears and trying, or in combination with like reading and watching. Hopefully not too many YouTube videos, because for fuck's sake, you'll just waste your time if you do that.
Don't watch a bunch of tutorials. It's the worst thing you can do.
Like, I need these new pedals.
It's a really, really big question, and it's something that I think at the number one thing I would recommend is just like really spend a lot of time trying, really spend a lot of time trying to make stuff, because you don't know where you are as a producer until you try to make something and then like hear how it didn't meet your expectations, and then figure out how you like do it better. I think to an extent.
I noticed that like across the board, a lot of people screw up. They sort of think, they immediately just think of it at like, okay, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to be a producer, make it a business, and then like they sort of harness their accept like how much they accept themselves for or how positively they take their musical output by how it's received. And there's like nothing harder to sell than music to someone.
Oh my God. Yeah, for real.
Like it's like it has it's weird because it's like you have to like look at music in general in a different way than you would in like the late 90s when I started making it or started like trying. Like it's just different now to like rep, because you're not, the chances of you being paid fairly are, well, you've never been paid fairly. Nobody's ever been paid fairly for music, but like your chances of like making a living off of it are really not at all. They're just not. Like you're going to have to either tour all the time, or you're going to have a YouTube platform that actually makes all the money, and then on that you're going to have to be like, check out my album, and nobody's going to do it still. Like that's just where we are right now, and it's because like we've devalued IP to the point where it's just not a sustainable thing anymore. And so there's another side of, there's like a silver lining to that, where like somebody recently said AI is going to take over music entirely, and it's like, no, it's not, because the reason I make music is because I like making music, not great make money off of it. Like that's the number one reason I make it, is because I enjoy it and it makes me feel good. Like,
so I think
rob me of that.
Yeah, like Ben, I went right into it from a mechanical standpoint, but Ben's coming to the heart of it, is that like, if you're not making this stuff because it's something that is in you that you are trying to like get out and express, like it's actually like it's part of you, right? Like that will help you along your way, because you're just gonna want to do it. You're gonna have to do it almost.
Yeah, and that's the most important part. If you don't enjoy doing it, get into a different business, for fuck's sake. Like a lot of time, get into banking or something. You'll make way more money way faster. But yeah, I mean, that it is a gift to produce music, to be able to have the determination to sit down, whether or not you're getting paid for it, but to have the determination to just sit down and express yourself with something that transcends language is really a gift that like everybody who does it should feel blessed for having, and stop worrying about how Spotify's treating them, because Spotify's never going to treat you well. They're never going to love you back, baby. It's never going to happen.
It's now we could very easily just veer into like economic theory right now if we wanted to, because the problem, like we all, I think, feel as if we have to monetize every aspect of what we do. Like I feel nervous when I'm not doing something I can't monetize. Because we can monetize everything we do. You can monetize taking a shit if you wanted to. Start an OnlyFans for taking shit.
OnlyFans.com/RedRangerRecording takes a shit.
I'm not saying that that's something I'm doing, but I could do it.
It is.
I got my Soma Cosmos in there with my ukulele.
it's you singing the, who was that Miranda singing? The apology song
or whatever. Toxic gossip dream. Getting past the almost the anxiety of the fact that you can do something simply because it's feels good to do, like that it's like you can create something just because you want to, because it's something that like feels good to you. That's tough to get to as well. Like, you know, I don't really know how to do it yet either.
You know, like Charlie Cooper, the late amazing Charlie Cooper of Telephone Tel Aviv, when up until when he died, he worked a side job as a waiter, and he didn't have to. They were doing world tours at the time. They were signed to a label that was paying them very well for their music up front. And like, yeah. And I, you know, everybody would always ask him like, why are you waiting tables at like a sushi restaurant? And he's like, cause I love making music, and I don't want that to be the only thing. And I took a lot of inspiration from that. That's why I worked in like ad music for so long, is because I was just like,
thing.
Okay,
like if you put everything,
I have
everything on the music, it sucks.
Right. And like that's why I'd be like, okay, I have to write music for these ads. That's a service. I'm going to do that for 4 hours today. And then the rest of the day, I'm going to make the flashbulb music. And I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I don't care if the album sells well. It doesn't matter, because I like doing it, and I'll make money from this other thing. And it is really nice to separate those two things. And so it's like, if somebody's just getting into music making, like, I just don't understand the value of from this side of it. I don't understand why somebody would want to make it the goal to make a living off of that thing, because that thing is so sacred and pure, and you're gonna muck it up with money and business.
But it's
and
funny because then people look at
we don't know if they want to be a producer for money. Like they could just be using that word as sort of a way to.
That's how people like see it, though, as like a way where you've made it, or like you're a successful producer if you're making a living as a producer. That's how everybody looks at it. That's how fucking Taxi looks at it, and like all these beat making courses and shit. Like, we'll teach you how to be, and it's like that's nobody is doing that on purpose anymore. Like, if you're making a living off of it, it's for some other reason that you fell into, or it's because you have a social media presence connected to it, or because, it's always for some other reason, or you've been grandfathered into it through a long, like Britney Spears still makes a living off music because she's Britney Spears.
Right. Yeah, I think, pretty much all the above. I think the only other thing I'd add of like just getting started is like make a habit of finishing things. That's going to be really important because, kind of like Jeremy said, just the ability to have like a post-mortem of like, okay, I like this. Maybe I could do this better next time. Like, make a habit of finishing things early on. That's going to be
finishing
really valuable.
Things is the muscle that you need to exercise. Absolutely.
Because otherwise you can sit there and twiddle forever and say like, I can make this better. Everything you do could have been done better with the power of hindsight. So if you just keep doing that, then you've got nothing done and nothing to show for the 10 years you spent getting something right.
Or you could be like me and finish stuff and then delete it.
Or that would work too, and that's the other thing though. It's like, just because
all
something
that matters
is done,
is that you enjoyed making it.
That's the thing is like nothing has to be a product. So even if you finish a song, if you don't think it's like releasable, that's totally valid. As long as you could take something away from that of like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed making that. Or like, oh, wow, the mix on that was a fucking disaster, but now I can see why. And now I can put that into this other idea I'm like really into, And I think
working on an album is like taking a bath in like a really nice bathroom, and you're taking a bath inside this like bathtub filled with warm chocolate pudding, and it's so nice. And
at least we're not
releasing it, and then releasing it is where you have to like clean the bathroom.
Dude, you're so fucking right. Like, releasing music is like, cool, I've got a dead body in my backyard and I still have to dress it up and like do something with it. It's it sucks.
Yeah. I get to take this beautiful thing that I'm so proud of on my own and share it with the world, and have people criticize it and say I fell off, or be surprised that I'm still making music, or whatever it is.
Or and just have the worst, like no one says anything.
Yeah,
like,
and it might be illegally used to sell some fucking cryptocurrency or something like that. Without my permission, there's nothing I could do about it, and I'll be mad about that. And it's like, or I could just delete the session and just say, hey, I enjoyed this day. It was really fun. Better than fishing or anything else I could have done. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, I think, just that making a habit of finishing stuff is good, and then just like don't be afraid of failing at things, because that's just like the only way you learn shit. Like don't worry about like did you enjoy your tutorials, afternoon? Don't do all that. Just like if you go through it and it sucks and something didn't work out, that's okay. Don't be afraid of it not being the thing in your head, because you just have to like let it happen.
Oh God, yeah. And I think the more that you practice, the more that you'll be able to move from I wanted to make this and I ended up making this, and then like you practice right. And finally one day you'll be like, oh my God, wait, what and then not every day, like it doesn't happen every single time, but like you will get better and better and better at like delivering on the vision that you had in your brain.
Paul wants to know any tips for building a synthesizer setup for use with friends. That's an interesting one.
Oh,
what? That assumes you have friends. I can't really speak on that. I guess like just having a room, like just a dedicated space with stuff spread out. Have a mixer, a mixer in the center.
Could have two stands like facing opposite each other, so that like you'd look deep into your friend's eyes while you're working. And then you'll want to probably distribute like MIDI clock to everything.
You would need a good mixer. You would need some kind of clock thing in the center. Maybe, just have like, if you have the space, like a room or something where you can have stuff kind of spread around. I don't know. kind of takes me back to my days of like being in bands. That was kind of the thing. But like for that,
Yeah.
everyone gets together in a garage. I bring a guitar, so and so brings drums, so and so brings a bass. So I guess it's kind of the same thing. Like if you had maybe a couple keyboard stands and then some other stands,
Yep.
like you could pick something up and put it on there, would be cool.
Yeah, it
but,
depends
like,
on how much gear you have too, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
if you always have the same gear available, then you just need to like find a place to make it
Right.
accessible.
'Cause
Maybe
if
have
the
like
purpose is just to jam, then yeah, like everything just stays set where it is. But if it's like tinkering time, then yeah, have a couple
Eric-
shelves of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was at
those like he said they have those little duet synthesizers. You talk about like the ones for kids,
Yeah.
the beat box or whatever.
Blip box, right?
The blip box, yeah.
Yeah.
Just get a bunch of blip boxes.
a few weeks ago, I guess a month ago now, when I was at Jamie Lidell's, like he has this massive modular, and it was funny because like he was like, yeah, let's make some music, and I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And I sat down, I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't know how any of these modules work. I don't have them. I don't have
it.
a
You just sit
manual.
there and you're like,
And I just like went.
no idea.
I went into the other room and just brought a guitar in, and I'm like, okay, I know this.
That's really
Can I
funny.
plug this into something?
Did you guys end up making some bloop loops?
We played with tape loops a lot.
That's cool.
It was almost like a challenge though, because he said something like, after 7 seconds, the ear can't keep time with a loop anymore or something. There's some sort of thing. And I was like, well, hold my beer. And
Challenge
so
accepted.
yeah. And then we just started jamming with like really, really long loops and trying to keep them in time.
Is that Frippatronics? Did you guys Frippatronic? Is that what that is?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, sort of, we tapped on, but yeah, we were basically doing that because he has a lot of reel-to-reel tape machines where like the tape goes like across the room and stuff. And yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, fun times.
That sounds epic. Yeah, I've wanted to do that for a minute. Like some of my reel-to-reels back there, I've just get like one of the really long super tapes and just run it around my room and just see what I can make. But that's one of those things where it's like it would be fun, but that's just a waste of time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one of those things where like I would need a solid 2 or 3 days where like I have nothing better to do than just like explore a really stupid idea.
I think that's what Heinbach did with the destruction
the hate
loops
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. The magnetic version of I Am Sitting in a Room.
I have a lot of I mean I've quite a few cassette decks, but the reel-to-reel I'd love to get into, but it's just maintaining them is so much effort.
Such a fucking pain in the
Money.
ass.
Yeah, it's just I'll just go to Jamie's.
Oh man, I lost where I was in the chat. God damn it. I know there was okay. Question. I stated in my interview with Sonic Scoop about having Netflix quality for your YouTube channel. Can you elaborate more about what this is, please? Being pretentious, talking too much, and having a really expensive camera that I can't justify whatsoever, and hiding the fact that I'm a shitty musician under really nice color grading. I don't know. To me, I think I just like that's kind of where like some of the content is moving on YouTube, though. A lot of the channels I watch, because I really don't watch anything in the music space, and I like that idea that, cinematography and more interesting ways of doing storytelling and stuff can exist on YouTube as a platform. And I think YouTube is like becoming the new TV to an extent. Like when my nephew comes over, he just wants to watch YouTube, and he has like channels he watches where it's like that's almost like putting ESPN on or something. You know what I mean?
Skibidi toilet.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where I wanted to go, is just like I want to challenge myself creatively to do something bigger than just like turning on a camera and talking about like chord progressions. I wanted to push something interesting with like, the stuff I'm interested in, mostly in like the psychology, philosophy space and whatever, but pushing in like, how could I tell this story visually? What are other things I could do? How could I up the production quality? Because, I like a lot of the video essay channels. There's like Polyphonics, a good music channel that does like good video essay stuff in that space. And that's kind of like the production level I aspire to, but in a different way. Like I don't want to make, the 10 greatest guitar solos of all time according to Rolling Stone. What? And, I don't want to have that overlaid with like film grain and then little paper cutaway animations or whatever. Like I want to do something like Natalie Lynn or, creators like that really inspire me. That
better start working on your makeup, boy.
Right. Yeah. And, like people who produce that really interesting level of content, I want to try to do that because that's something I'm interested in.
You do have to have at least at least like every other video or once a video, you do need to have a shot of you in a bubble bath.
Right.
Still are fabulous, and you are drinking champagne while you talk to the camera. That is you have to do that.
And I like that kind of stuff. Is like interesting cuts, interesting funny things you could do, and yeah, trying to integrate like vlogging type footage is something I've been experimenting with lately. Of like how can I Casey Neistat things in a way that tells a really good story, and things
without
like
that. I've done that in the past where I've like done joking ones. Like one of them, I like put my car on like lane assist and like was like I downloaded whatever game was trying to pay me to do an ad read for them, like Dungeons Fighters Dragon Tank thing, and I just like downloaded that quickly and was like playing it while the car drove itself, and just did like a quick video of that. And like sure enough, though, like a lot of people didn't get that it was a joke, and they were just like, "That's really lame." That you're. So it turns back in that thing where you're like, what is the percentage of people that don't get the joke? What is like acceptable?
Acceptable?
Yeah, like
it's a really good question.
Like, yeah, my humor can get really abstract to the point where
that's something I've been working on a video about for like the past fucking 3 months. Is I think when I think of like when I say I want to make Netflix level production quality, I think the thing with where I'm at mentally, like creatively with that anymore is just like, I know there's a big chunk of the internet that fucking hates what I do, and I want to lean into that. Like I think that as artists, like your cringe is the superpower.
Well, yeah, and
I think that's okay, and I think that's where I would want to push further. It's like, all right, I sometimes cringe at my own ideas, but like my goal anymore is just to kill the part of myself that cringes at that. And just like go further with it.
Cringe.
Right. Because that's the thing. Cringe eventually becomes based, man. If you
There's a video I did this year that I'm not going to spoil it because I promised myself that I wouldn't spoil it. But there's a video I did this year that's entirely sarcastic. And I don't think many people realized it. And that's what like drives me crazy. Is like I think a lot of like I was like, wow, I really missed on this because I thought that like 80%, like 70 to 80% would have gotten the joke. Or it's not even a joke. It's just a very sarcastic play on like something, a situation. But it'll be interesting.
It went right over people's heads. Is like it
100%. Yeah, and it's like I said things in it that are so easily disputable by just like quickly listening to something or I mean it's very easy. But yeah, and I mean
for a year you should just put one
of these videos is a joke.
One ridiculous statement into like each one of your videos, and then at the end of the year, like see if like how much of them were caught. Just become like the George Santos of SynthTube.
Well, I pronounce words wrong on purpose just to piss people off.
For engagement. That's for engagement.
You YouTube gear shill. I know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know that you did that. That's really funny.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the documentary does, because that is like that's like it has to be edited at 10-bit and up to par with Amazon, because it's going to be allegedly right now, it's so far with the deal, it's going to be split between YouTube and Amazon Prime,
right,
meaning that both are going to get the full version, and every other streaming service was just like, no, it has to be exclusive. And
but I think that's the cool thing about where the space is at anymore, is that YouTubers, as dirty of a word as it is, can do that kind of thing. And I think that's where I've been interested lately, is just pushing more into like, can a YouTube video about writer's block be like truly interesting and have that like cinematic flair that I would expect from watching, something on Netflix or whatever. Timothy wants to know more of I don't know if you guys have messed with these. What are your thoughts on the UA microphone Sphere series and the other modeling plugins that purport to emulate a host of other microphones? Have you guys messed with like the modeling microphones at all?
I have not. I'd be curious to know what people think.
Okay. Ben, have you messed with them?
No. I mean, I'm always happy to try them out, but I feel like I'm not one of those people where I'm like, oh man, I want to sound like a Newman 5729. Like I just sort of EQ it until it sounds right, and
right,
go on with my day. I'm not a mic fetishist, but there are a lot of people I know who are mic fetishists.
Oh my God. Once you start getting into that shit, you
Yeah.
become a very specific kind of person. A mic person.
Yeah.
But I know there are mics that fit certain things. Like
Right.
I always record drums with I never record drums with any type of condenser.
Mhm.
I actually the last like live drum kit I had, I kept a hard disk recorder around because for some reason it sounded better when it was recorded through like sheet mics on a hard disk recorder. It sounded brilliant, but when I brought it into an audio interface or a nice DA80, it would sound terrible. So not terrible.
And that's the thing, yeah. It's like, if you want rock vocals, you get an SM57. If you want to record, strings, you get a ribbon mic or something. Yeah. So the only one I messed with was the Townsend Labs modeling mic. This was several years ago at a NAMM, and it was really hard to tell at NAMM because NAMM is chaos. But I did get to play with it. I got to play with it later on at a store in Chicago, and I don't know how accurate it was to some of the mics, like, the Telefunken mics that are $8 gajillion. Like, it probably sounds close enough that, people on KVR are going to be pissed off about it.
Done in software too. Yeah,
but
yeah, it's funny because like the mic testing stuff at NAMM is just like, why is this here? Like, let me take this somewhere quieter, like a fucking Chuck E. Cheese ball pit.
Right, because they had like the big headphones and whatever, and I could kind of tell that something was happening when I played with it at the store in Chicago. Like, it did, okay, now it sounds more like a condenser. Oh, okay, now it does kind of have like more of a room thing because I put it in Omni mode. And I don't know that I would necessarily pick that over just getting like, I don't know, one of the AKG like 414s that's like a multipolar pattern microphone.
We should ask Warren Hewart.
Yeah, he would probably know. Douglas Carmichael for Jeremy, what would you recommend as an all-around sound pack for the Deluge?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that because all-around sound pack seems to suggest that it would be not just synth patches, but also drums and stuff. I hear really, really good things about the Boards of Deluge packs. They are all like Boards of Canada, but Boards of Deluge. Cool. I think there's a few of them now. I've heard really, really good things about that. But also, first of all, don't sleep on the factory content. It's pretty good. And then two, also don't sleep on like joining the Deluge Discord. And checking out like the resources thing there. Like, just as an example, I was in the Discord recently because I was working on a video for the community firmware thing, and I was thinking, oh wow, with this wavetable update and all this kind of stuff, like I could make a little wavetable pack, 128 wavetable presets and sell them. And I go down to the resources section or like the preset section in the thing, and someone's like, here's 835 wavetable presets for the Deluge for free. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Also, all around pack, it really depends on what kind of music you want to make. At this point, I like actually like actively swap out SD cards with like stuff that's made for certain genres when I'm working on like the Deluge or the Mate or something like that.
Do you just have cards that's like drum and bass pack or like
this is the drum and bass card? Yeah, exactly.
That's probably a smarter way to do it. I just have it all on one SD card and like my Iridium and stuff, and it's a fucking disaster to sort through my samples.
It can be. It depends on how much you need, right? Like if you're just putting a ton of specific genre stuff on there, then you can go from like 4 to 8 gigs to all the way up to 32 really quick. But yeah, I mean, I would say 1, get free presets where you can, and 2, try to find samples that fit the kind of genres that you want to produce.
MF Rat wants to know, do you know the you just have imposter syndrome thing? Maybe I really do suck. I was a salaried sound designer for 7 years, and now just get rejections. I now have no job. Burnout makes training up near impossible. I don't know. Do you guys want to touch on imposter syndrome?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's
no, that's not imposter syndrome.
You're gaslighting yourself. That's
right.
Yeah.
People just aren't hiring sound designers like they were years ago. That's all there is to it.
Hence why you're looking at me on fucking YouTube right now.
I mean, people can now just like sound design is becoming a video editing. Like, you're either becoming an audio developer for gaming or you're just a video editor. And video editors are just now subscribing to something like Soundly and dragging and dropping sounds in, and that's that. Like, it's not you.
They were an audio engineer, which is even more complicated because you're like, okay, well, what are you doing front of house? Were you doing like, monitors? Like, what were you doing? Were you in studio? Because those jobs are notoriously hard to keep as well. Especially like since COVID basically killed a ton of like venue stuff. It's like, I mean, you're just in a really, you are legitimately in a difficult place, and it's not your fault. Honestly, it's probably not your fault. You're probably good at what you do.
I mean, yeah, if you were salaried for 7 years doing sound design, like you're not going to be bad at your job and have that for 7 years. I hate to break it to you.
I didn't read the comment. Did it say sound design or sound design and audio engineering?
Salaried sound designer for 7 years.
Oh, sound design. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you were a salaried sound designer for that long, I don't know what you were salaried in doing. If it was for like. Maybe it was for TV and ads, and if that's the case, that industry collapsed entirely. Like it just died.
Yep.
I mean, I used to be a composer in that industry, and the pay just kept going down until I said, but there is but gaming is growing. If you learn Epsilon or Wise or something like that, you'll get that salary back pretty quick. I could think of some sound design jobs open now that are from game studios. Like I
think the gaming industry is really a great place right now. I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last like fucking year. Mm-hmm. Like it's a great space to be in. But yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. But
all right,
I would say that the first step would be to try and find a way out of like your mental hole. I mean, it's really hard when you're unemployed and can't get employed. Like super, super, super depressing. And so I feel that, but like if you don't fight back against the depression, like you will drown. Like you have to get up.
This is something I in the video I've been working on today I talk about a little bit, but the idea that it's interesting as artists, one of the most permissive things that we like allow ourselves to fail with is just inaction. And I think that's a big part of it is like we can't get out of anything, and this is a video more about like not being able to like write kind of like writer's block type stuff, but I guess it sort of applies to the same situation where creatives are so prone to just being like, well, it's just not happening, and then we just leave it at that. But like that's the thing, is you just eventually have to take action with something, and even if it is small stuff, that's fine, because like everything is just fucking baby steps when you really break it down. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's right.
I'd say that I think all of us here like wish you the best of luck. Like
right.
It is.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's I don't think it's.
I hope you fail.
Yeah. And there's your motivation: is prove Ben wrong, and in a year when you have another gig, you can email Ben this big thing of like, "Fuck you."
Fuck you, Ben.
Roger,
you'll be the first successful person to write me that email.
Actually, and that's the thing. And see that I think that's the thing people need to understand is I think everyone that especially that does what we do, like I aspire to get those messages from someone who went out and fucking did something about it instead of just like bitching about how YouTube musicians suck and whatever. Like if someone goes out and makes a better album, then awesome. So do that for Ben. Be that person for Ben and go do something, and then tell him to go fuck himself.
And well, yeah, but then you'll be like, I don't really have time to just email.
Right?
Random
yeah. Well, you're going to be busy doing another job. I don't know. You'll figure it out.
Like I'm too busy enjoying my life. So.
Roger Jonker wants to know: planning to upgrade my i5 laptop. Advice for a good processor on sound creation. I think any of like the modern i7s fuck pretty hard.
i9s too.
Yeah, if you can get something with an i9, I have an i9 in my. I can't make my computer sweat anymore.
Mine's the newest gen, which is 13, 14. What are we on now?
I don't know. I think mine's 12, and mine's a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ones with like the little big architecture, all those processors are insane. My wife just got a new laptop that's an i7 with like the little big architecture, and it's a monster of a laptop. So I would say any of the modern processors with that architecture, especially the i7s, if you can get the i9, music's not going to touch that unless you're running, I don't know, ridiculous plugins. We talked about Blipbox a little bit earlier, didn't we?
We mentioned it, yeah.
Because Paul wants to know, I have a 3-year-old. Paul wants to know, I have a 3-year-old daughter in front of a DFAM. She goes nuts and jams out. Any hardware synth recommendations for a 3-year-old where they could turn knobs and push buttons at random and have fun on it? The DFAM's an interesting choice for a 3-year-old. I mean, yeah, Blitbox is kind of like designed for that.
Just get the Moog Sound Studio. Just get a nice wood case. Put some rainbow knobs on.
Budget. It depends a lot on this, I suppose. Like
you kind of, it sounds like you kind of want a one knob per function synth. I'm gonna go look real quick at what
the music studio would be perfect because then you can plug things in and like goof with it. Yeah.
I thought those Roland Gaia, is it the Gaia? Whatever they are, those
Gaia is pretty cool.
Yeah, like, those seem like good beginner synths. I mean, they seem like I would have a ton of fun with it too. It's not like you need to be a beginner.
The thing I'll say about Gaia, like it is a Roland synth, and it's not like Roland makes bad synths, but they got some jank in the menu department, and I don't know if a kid would really like that.
The Arturia like Micro Freak maybe.
Micro Freak's a great choice.
I mean, like a 3-year-old's not going to understand like the mod matrix and the menus, but it's very tactile and like fun.
And there's so many different cool like little engines in it as well. Like,
yeah, because my nephew's 8, and I've let him play with that, and he doesn't like know how to program it, but like he likes to tweak it. It's colorful, it's fun, you know.
Another one that is like I think a lot of people forget about, the Novation Base Station 2. Like it's not polyphonic, but like it is almost completely one knob per function and really tactile. Like it feels really
nice and colorful too, wasn't it? Was that the big blue one?
It's blue and it's not. It's black with like blue highlights. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's pretty attractive. There's like the Moto Electronics ones, like the Cobalt 8. That's a nice little. Oh, actually, that might be a little big. And then there's like the classic, the Micro Korg. You know, that's always like a lot of people's first synths. I wonder. The other question would be is like, how rough is she with these?
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, get her the Moog one and just like a cup of water and just let them go at it. Nothing can go wrong. Yeah, I don't know what other like little synths are super. Even like the 303 type of thing might be kind of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some little like just sequencer thing that has like knobs to tweak that does stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Ben.
Jens, you have to hang out here or head out of here pretty soon.
Okay. Well, Ben's got a quick one. He has to answer in 10 seconds or less. Adam Johan Berggren, hopefully I'm saying that right, says, does quantum mechanics imply the universe is deterministic? You have 10 seconds on the clock.
Wouldn't quantum mechanics do the opposite? Isn't that kind of how Einstein got defeated? Einstein kind of was the determinism and Bohr's was the nope, there is no determinism. It's only chaos. Am I done? Did I run out of time?
Probably, yeah. Can we get Bohr's in the chat?
Yeah. I'm gonna go pee really fast.
All right, I'm gonna run through these and see if we could speed run any other questions with Jeremy.
Leave Jeremy his, and I'm gonna go pee and refill my water.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh yeah, as Smadger points out, all these companies are sponsors of Charity Stream Week. I have prize bundles every single night across the top of the screen. If you donate anything, you could verify your donation in my Discord and enter to win. And there are links down in the description. And
Sure.
Oh, Albert, remember the poop tone. What do you know about the brown note?
I know it exists.
It's out there somewhere.
It's out there. You would need to have a very loud version of it, a lot of amplification, and then it's definitely possible to resonate someone's bowels. Sure it is.
Nascent, I think is how you say that. Is there a specific dissonant tone that invokes nausea? Haven't they done that with like binaural tones? Like, didn't they do tests on that where, or did the CIA use that to torture people? I feel like I remember reading something about that where there are like sonic experiences, and I think it's with infrasound. Like low frequencies make people nauseated sometimes.
I just googled this, like nausea in music tones, and the very first thing. Oh wait, never mind. That's powerful nausea relief binaural. That's not what I want. I don't want nausea relief.
I want to throw up.
I want to throw up. Sounds that make you nauseous. Infrasonic sound. So earthquakes, ocean waves, upper atmosphere, lightning, and man-made. So infrasonic is going to be like really low.
Yeah, like super low.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben's seen this in his research. So we're talking about, is there a specific like music frequency or interval that makes people nauseous? And I feel like I remember reading something about like infrasonics.
It's infrasonics. Yeah, absolutely.
Like out of phase
this is
things.
Infrasonic microphone.
Ooh, what is it?
It's one that I made. it hooks up to a bunch of tubes, and you could spread them out over like 100 feet, so it just has this massive diaphragm. Anyway, I'm using it for the research.
So is it kind of like a stethoscope, but for the Earth?
Yeah, I mean, I can,
like same
and it
operating
also,
principle.
if I have internet connection, it connects to seismographs around the world, so I could compare it to things, so I could see if something is happening. So, like, you know, if I'm recording a day of infrasonic data from my house, and you know, but my neighbor is jackhammering, that way I'm not like, oh my god, we're having a seismic event. I could just compare it to the one in like southern Georgia and be like, nope, it's just something local.
Richard super chatted. Thank you, Richard Iverson. Looking for other ones here. Questions.
I'm gonna go drink beer. I have to go drink beer. So, gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Jeremy.
Everybody in the
chat. Can we get an F in chat for Jeremy? And then Ben and I are going to lightning round some questions and wrap it up because I'm also very hungry.
Yeah, we're going to talk about quantum determinism.
Bye. Are you drinking moonshine? I am not. Ben, are you drinking moonshine?
No, I'm drinking vitamin water. Well, not like actual, TM vitamin water, but oh wow, it's only going to show me now.
I was going to say, how do I make my? Isn't there a way to split screen Google Meet now?
I'm not sure.
Change layout. Tiled.
Hey everybody, I'm Ben. Look at me.
Tiled. Maximum tiles to display. Spotlight. Sidebar. Nope. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's weird.
I don't know that I can.
Maybe if you share a screen.
I can only make myself this big.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, I'm a guest on your channel. I deserve
That's fine.
this.
Yeah, we'll just have Ben, and I'll be up here in my sad corner.
You're like, it's like when you're editing software or something, and I'm in the software.
People online are obsessed with productivity in music. Yeah.
People online are obsessed with selling you shit.
Yeah, that's the thing is I feel like every music producer Instagram and Twitter account I see just makes me want to fucking vomit because it's all just
buy my course and learn how to finish songs tomorrow.
Why do people want to be producers instead of musicians? I think it's just they want the societal status to be like, I make all my money through my music and like that's the greatest thing in the world, and if you don't do that you're wrong, which is why everyone hates like music YouTubers.
Yeah, that probably comes from like hip hop culture, doesn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, and it's funny because like you said earlier, where the job of like waiting tables being like this bad, like you don't need that, why would you do that and whatever, and it's like, well, I enjoy it, and it's like, that's, and I enjoy separating the processes, and I think that's a big thing where people need to be okay with that idea that like you can be a exceptional musician with the day job. A day job does not make you a failure. It probably just makes you a more well-rounded individual. Like, I appreciate that I get to do YouTube and then like write music for my YouTube videos and then write music for games, and then so like a lot of my day job is creative work still, but I'm really glad it's not just wake up and write music all day every day and like do music stuff, because I did that for a while in my early 20s when I was in like bands and stuff, and it sucked and it ripped all the joy out of doing it.
Yeah.
Why would you want to let someone else produce your song? From Andy Lindbergh. How do you feel? Because you've always been someone who's done like except the like session musicians you've had on some of your albums. You've always done all your own like mixing and mastering, or have you?
Yeah, I've always done all my own mastering. Okay. Although I have produced other people's albums, and it's because a lot of people are songwriters. And they write the lyrics and they write the music and they can perform it and sing it, but they don't know what like, PSP vintage warmer is. They don't care.
Right. And
they just want it to sound up to speed with the other things. A lot of times people that, they don't know what kind of drum beat should go in. They don't know that like, if they're a singer-songwriter on the guitar, they don't know that like a drummer, they might know this, but they probably aren't aware that like when the crash cymbals hit, you should always hit the kick at the same time. That otherwise it just sounds off and weird.
Right.
And those aren't the types of things that you could really figure out just on your first session trying to record a song. So That's a reason why. Stuff I've produced has usually been a little bit more left field. Like, I've been like, oh, I like this song, we should have like a string quartet in the background, or so that rather than the guitar, like a lot of weird things. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just generally like somebody who really likes collaborating, looking at, but that's what producer generally means. In hip hop, it generally means like you're making all the beats and the background music for a rapper or a singer.
But I think, yeah, then like, the sense of, I don't know, Mutt Lang or something, producers like the overseer that makes sure the song is like as good as it can be, but also the person who like runs the mixing console and invites collaborators and things like that. So I think why people want a producer to work on their song in whatever capacity that collaboration is, I think it's just like that producer is like the impetus for something bigger to happen or better. Like if like one of the projects I've wanted to do for a long time is make like an album that exists in like a VR sort of thing, where it's like a semi-generative music experience or something where you interact with it and that's the song, right? And I could make the music and the sounds and do a lot of shit, but I couldn't like open up, Unity and build that. So I would work with a game studio for that part of it. Like I'm still doing my part, but I'm accepting where my limits are because I want to see my creative vision, go through. And I think that's, like when you hired a string player, in a session or whatever, it's because you don't know how to play like violin or cello or whatever as good as they can. So it's like there's no point in the ego interfering with the ability to see the project like as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Charlie wants to know, any advice for a newly full-time producer in terms of what is most important? Perfecting the production, social media, pitching, or otherwise? I mean, if you're a newly full-time producer, you're doing something right. I guess social media is probably just the biggest thing anymore. Utilizing that.
Depends what you mean by producer. I mean, if you're like working B2B, if you're like doing business to business and not trying to promote yourself, then maybe social media isn't the best. If you're just working for like a composing house or something. But
yeah, pitching might be important if you're trying to get more work. I don't know. It's just, I guess it's the most important thing you could do is ask yourself what your goal is right now or what your goals are. Like plural, I want to get more clients. I want to have better mixes, and I want to, I don't know, get an album I worked on signed to a major label. Okay, like these are the goals. How am I going to work towards them? What is the most, this is from Billsy Bainbridge, what is the most unusual DAW-like environment you've worked with?
Probably Metasynth is probably the weirdest one. God, I'm trying to think. Like I've played with so many in the last
Did
week.
You go with that Blockhead at all?
A little bit. Not. I do want to like check it out on a stream. I do want to like give it a good deep dive. Probably Metasynth is probably the weirdest, like, alternative DAW that I've ever played with. But otherwise, like FL Studio is pretty weird if you compare it to like everything else.
Yeah, as has been my experience every time I fucking open it, I have no idea what I'm doing. Because like there's a lot of weird music making tools out there, but most of them are not DAW like, where they just like C sound or something is just completely different than like what a DAW is.
Yeah.
And like I guess Reactor, is like can be DAW like, but it's not. It's like that's just like visual programming. All right, speed running.
What do I think of the MPC key? That's I hate to say it, I never use it.
Is that the one that is like a DAW in a box sort of thing, right?
On the top up there, yeah. On the top, powered down. I mean, maybe if I had more time, I'd use it. Maybe if I brought it on a trip to a cabin, I'd use it, but I don't use it here. I thought that I would use it to like control my modular and stuff, is like because it has CD out, but no. But it's more of a scheduling thing. It's not that it's a bad piece of hardware. It's just a little too much menu diving if I actually want to leave the computer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to find like, not like a DAW-less setup, but one of those tools where it's like, this is something that I could do a session on that's like reasonable to use. I don't know. I've been interested in trying to find something like that, and I think right now where I've been at is, as we talked about with like the Hey Packs or something, is just I think what I want is something that just records MIDI information and can spit it back at me in different ways. But I don't know that I would ever get along with like one of the big MPC units where it's kind of like a DAW in a box, because I feel like I would just get frustrated and be like, then why don't I just use my computer?
Yeah, like this little calculator, this little RetroKits thing is incredible. I love it. Like that thing, I'm having a blast.
Oh, that's
with.
The new little thing. What does that do exactly? Like,
I think it's been out for like almost a year now.
Oh,
but
well, I've seen it on my feed just recently, and it's like
it's a MIDI looper. Yeah.
Okay, so you just record loops into it. Does it do like generative things with it too, or is it just like a MIDI data recording
system? It has
system?
loads of options. You could do like step recording with it. You could you could have everything. You could have every single different loop have like different times, and and then sort of do like poly looping and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really easy to get creative with, which is like. I mean, that's generally what you would want out of something like that. Is you just it's easy to get very experimental with very quick.
Venus, would you ever do a video where you talk hyper fast? I've thought about doing. There was one video I saw like a couple months ago where it was like, this video will break the YouTube algorithm, and I don't remember who it was. If you not Google it, if you look it up on YouTube, I'm sure you'll see it, and it's this guy who made a video and put it to 4 times speed. So it's like, 2 minutes long, and it's just like, but you slow it down to 0.25 speed in the playback settings, and it destroys the YouTube algorithm, because then your retention rate's like 400% because you're watching it back at a quarter speed. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. But I thought about that as like a storytelling tool a few times, of like playing with time in a few interesting ways, and now I have this big stupid camera and I can film 120 frames a second, so who knows.
Someone from YouTube asked me, made the mistake of having a quick chat with me about what I would recommend, like feature wise, and I was just like, well, I want to be able to put chapter links that aren't available from the timeline on the screen. And they're like, why? And I was like, because I want to be able to create interactive videos. I want to be able to be like, do you want to check, like, make one video every 3 months and be like, do you want to check this out, this or this? Or do you want to just do it in normal order? And then people just be able to press the buttons on the screen, and, or like a choose your own adventure type of video that just talks about music or something. I feel like that would just open the levels of creativity so much higher, and that would be so different than
I've seen a couple what is it, I don't know what it was. It was like gaming channels or something, but you know how on YouTube, and you can still do this, where at the end of your video 2 options pop up?
Yeah.
There was a channel I watched, and this was years ago, but I was like, oh, that's such a fucking cool idea. But it was like that,
so
where they would do like a 1 minute video, and then you would
without
choose.
having to make 150 videos.
Right. That would be cool.
And ruin your channel.
Right, yeah, because your analytics would just be fucked, where it's like you publish 100 videos in a day to do this like narrative. But I saw some channel do that, where it was like a gaming channel or something crazy, and I was like, that's such a weird way to like use the medium of YouTube in a very new way.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. Yardbird, sweet. Finishing a sound design internship with a small game studio. Should I focus on freelancing or applying for permanent positions? Permanent positions are real hard to come by, depending on what you're doing within gaming. I think freelancing is always a good thing. Like, there's no problem with having a side hustle, and I think it's just a good little thing to do. Like, don't let it eat up your life. Don't let your side hustle destroy your free time. But
in the gaming industry, though, it's like so incestuous. Like, you could really end up with like a permanent position, because you'll probably get hired contract at first before you get hired as salary to work on every game. But I mean, the bigger problem with the gaming industry is that it is like really it's not your problem, it's the problem for the person hiring you, where the moment you get hired as in a salary position, you'll get poached
by
5 companies.
Most of the people I've worked with recently, and this is more like the indie game side, a lot of them are contractors for that reason. Where like one of the audio people I'll work with on one project is also like, oh, I'm also the audio lead at this other game studio, and then they're like, by the way, would you want to work on the soundtrack for this? Or hey, I'm I'm a implementation guy at this other studio on a contract, and we need sound effects. Would you do that? So I like the flexibility of freelance, but I also hate working like a stable job, which is a really fucking bad like life skill. But I hate working like 9 to 5 like stable paychecks.
One thing that really, really impresses game studios, if you're like pitching to them on any level, if you're trying to find, like, if you just want to put in your resume, is like just 6 months or even less, 3 months of just playing around with Unreal and Unity, and maybe making a demo that could run inside a browser or something of your skills. And then, just them being able to just go in that, and you making it from the ground up. It doesn't have to look, amazing or anything, but just the fact that you're putting in enough effort, because there is a problem between, at least the last time I worked on a game, there was a problem between like the composer, sound designer people, and then the developers, where there is just a little bit too much of a gap. And like you being able to bridge that gap a little bit actually means a lot to a game studio that's hiring.
For sure, because that's a big thing, like with the stuff I do, where it's like I do mostly the music and sound effects end of things, like mostly music, but because, sound effects are all like boom libraries in games anymore, I swear. But yeah, when I get hired to do a game project, a lot of it is that like I know my way around like Wise and Fmod and stuff, and I know how that integrates with Reaper, so I'm taking less of their resources to hire me, if that makes sense. Like when they pick me up for a project, I can write the music and do all the stuff, but I can like set up loop markers and do all this other stuff and show how it's going to work, and like
because that's work for developers, but you have to do if you don't do it, or they're going to have to train you on how to do it, and that's going to take valuable time.
So as long as you can speak like a little bit of their language, I think that's the competitive thing, and that's where I think having those freelance like side gig passion projects is super helpful, because it forces you to understand like the bigger picture of something. Amato, a Ben and Cameron and new collab excursion video planned for 2024. Yes. January next month. It's not like a collab video. It's not like the cave video or something.
Yeah.
But we're going to be working together on some stuff in January.
It's by far the most expensive video project I've ever done.
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. And you'll probably make some appearances in my video. Maybe. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. So it's like it's a collab, but not like a double hangout feature. Maybe we'll do something else though. I don't know.
We're not going to a cave, by the way. No. I tried to get up down in Carlsbad Cavern, and they just haven't. They just ghosted me after I paid the application fee for the research and everything. I'm really annoyed by it. But I applied formally. I filled out long documents for both you and Mary to be literally research assistants, so you're allowed to go down there and like. And
they were like, no.
No, they didn't even. It seems like they didn't even read it. They just like took my money, and I can't. I mean, I'll probably hear back from them in like 2 weeks, but it's like I need to book hotels and stuff. I just can't do it anymore. But.
Oh, here's a good one. We're both guitar nerds. Suzu Music wants to know, how do you transfer a song you composed on guitar to be synth based? That's an interesting one. Do you? Because you like. I start a lot of my writing on either guitar or piano. And I think you're kind of the same, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
When you take a guitar idea, how have you translated that to like, oh, this would be great as a synth thing? I don't think my brain works like that though.
No, I think so. Yeah, where I'm like, oh, I like this. Or sometimes I'll just write something on the guitar, and then I'll be like, I won't really feel like I could go anywhere with it, or I won't really be that inspired anymore, and then I'll play it on the piano, and you'll have to make some changes. But they're usually good changes. It's not like you're going to give up a good, I guess you would call it a fretting on a guitar, but it's not like you're going to give up a good inversion for a bad one. You're just going to change the inversions to good ones. New instrument. It's like always going to be a refinement. And so,
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that where I think my hands are more comfortable on like piano and guitar. And I can like visualize something that way. And I think guitar will translate chords a different way and whatnot. And then if I am going to directly translate it to synth music, then generally I'm just using like the chord progression I wrote on the guitar. And then because, like if it's a very specific finger picking pattern or something, then I might think of that as like, oh, okay, so this could be like an arpeggio. But generally, I'm just thinking like
I would
chords.
record the guitar. Yeah, if it's like a finger picking pattern, I'll just record the guitar
Same,
at that
yeah,
point.
because it's like if I'm writing something where I just get attached to that guitar part, then I'll just record the guitar and then add like, you know, pads and arps and drums and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But if it's just like that little start, you know, inkling of an idea, then I'll just like put the chords together in the DAW with some synth stuff and then write from there. I don't think I've ever finished writing a song on guitar where then I replaced it all with synths. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, it probably has happened in my case, but yeah, nothing like noteworthy to be like, this is the example that you should follow, because it's always subjective.
Oh, if I pin my camera feed? Nope. If I pin my camera feed, Ben goes away. Sorry. All right, lightning round, because I'm getting hungry. Are you guys using PSP? I use PSP stuff. Do you use PSP stuff? You've got Vintage Warmer, yeah?
Yeah, Vintage Warmer. I think just that currently, and I usually don't use it on like the end of a track or on the end of a whole song. I'll usually only use it on the end of a channel, like a particular channel. But yeah, Vintage Warmer is like a classic. Whatever code they're using for that is magical.
Yeah, it's an incredible. It's one of those things where like you just put it on the master bus of a session and you're like, now it's like that's it. You know, that's the now it sounds like a record. It really is. Like, as much as I hate to say that, that is just one of those plugins where you put it on and it's like, all right, now we're cooking. And I use Infinistrip to mix everything alongside the Kilohertz plugins, and then I have a couple of their reverbs and delays I like and things like that. But yeah, Infinistrip and Vintage Warmer are like gotta haves for me. Do you think your passion can't or shouldn't be your main source of income without ruining things or making you burn out? The Sauerkraut's fan. I think we kind of already touched on that. Where like I don't like my passion thing to be like my only source of income. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, and like YouTube, while it's very related to my passion, it is not my passion. Although this like documentary kind of flirts with it a little bit, because it flirts a little bit too close with science and you know, filmmaking, not just like making a YouTube video, like not just something that I could escape from really quick, something that I actually have to be passionate about because I'm working on it for longer than, you know, a week or 2 weeks or something. So that's, we'll see. We'll see if I have a mental breakdown over that.
Cloud of Thought wants to know, what do you think is the best and most inexpensive way to learn piano/keyboard? It's hard because like if you have access to a piano at home or like a good 88 key like weighted keyboard, that's a huge hurdle, because that's kind of the first thing. Is like if you want to learn to play piano, you have to play like a good weighted key keyboard or an actual piano to start.
Yeah, and if you want a I feel like if you want a like if you feel like you need the structure of a teacher, a personalized structure of a teacher, you don't necessarily have to get a lesson every week. You could literally get like one. You could talk to most. And I say this, I've never been a professional music teacher. I've taught students before when I ran a music school, but running a music school, if you tell a teacher, if you say, look, I'm poor, I can't, or, you know, I can't afford this, or I'm not ready to pay this much money. Can I just come in once every 2 months and then maybe make the appointment a few weeks out or something like that? Your teacher will understand, and they will, give you longer assignments and things like that to earn longer goals to try and follow, because that is very common. Not everybody can go in every single day. And
Right. Yeah. I think a teacher could be good, or just like getting to a point where you know chords and basic things like that, and then even going on like Ultimate Guitar and just pulling up like chords for a song and like learning to play that can be helpful. You know, there's lots of different things like that. There's some great YouTube channels.
Chords is a huge deal. I mean, for guitar especially. Like I've always told people like stop using tablature. Like stop counting frets. That's such an anti-musical way to work. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now 11. Like doing that is just silly. Learn the chords. Learn where you could phrase them in different places. That'll take you a few weeks tops, and then you can say, okay,
but it unlocks like everything from there.
E minor, done. You know,
because then you can understand like, okay, this is how I make this chord, and eventually, you'll get to that point of like you'll understand what intervals make that. Like you won't just know A minor, but you'll know what A minor is made of. So that way, when you see B flat minor, you know how to make that chord without having to look it up, and then from there, you can get into inversions and extensions. Yeah. And I think that's
you to build off of that.
That's the biggest hurdle to get to a point where you can start playing things. And it's kind of like that video you did several years ago about like, can effects inspire a beginner to jam? And I think that's the thing, is if you get to the point where you can play something functional and not just exercises, the rest of the learning process is kind of natural in your progression to learning to play the things you want to be able to play.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, sort of like the foundation of jazz is like the real book and fake book, and like that's just charts.
Yeah.
It's just like one line of the song and notes, and then
even then learning
the charts. Yeah.
Learning songs you like, because I learn this all the time, like because I don't really consider myself a great keyboard player at all, and I look up those like MIDI playback videos on YouTube where someone will play the MIDI on like a piano roll type thing, and I'll learn how to play the song that way. Right. But by doing that, as I started doing that several years ago, it really did teach me a lot, not only about like phrasing and dynamics and whatever, but like how an actual piano player would voice this and do this, and also the relationships of chord progressions to create a certain mood and feeling. Because for me, it's really helpful to be like, oh man, I liked how that, that melody or that chord movement resolved or changed or whatever. How does that work? And then when I play that song, now I've just got like in my back pocket, I know that like, oh, going from like a 1 to a minor 6 chord, but adding a 7th on top really adds like a big spice twist or whatever. And that's just in the back of my brain now. So I think that's the best way to learn the piano. Yeah, I was like, figure out your chords. I wouldn't worry about a lot of the exercises, because I think that stuff just bores me to death, of like running scales. And if you learn songs, you'll kind of figure out the scales naturally anyway.
Yeah. Chord management. I just see a comment saying like, what do you think about chord management software like Scalar? I think that like if you want to have
used it
fun,
much.
Right, like like if I want to like map Scalar, like map a bunch of predefined, like this is the way I would use it, is I would map a bunch of predefined chords to keys here, and then improvise over it with just a normal chromatic scale here.
Because I'll do that on my Iridium, where like I'll map chords to the pads on the Iridium, because it doesn't have a keyboard.
It's like, it's like Piano Hero or something, but like Melody Hero. But when you're trying to learn, that is just kryptonite to learning. I hate to say it, because it's just like it's like you're giving steroids to this like part. Well, I don't even want to say it's a performance enhancer. It's almost like you're giving this head start that you're not going to be able to keep up with in the rest of the song. You're not going to know how to resolve it. You're not going to know how to like,
other than going by ear. But I think going by ear is always, there's a plus and a minus to it, where like I don't know that going by ear. If you have something that powerful, you're not learning as much from that process, I think. But I think there's a time and a place for tools like that, and I've used like the Reason Rack chord map tool a few times, where it'll show me like, based on this chord, these are the chords that are the most harmonically similar, and it'll suggest more exotic chords like, oh, B flat 6-9 with a sharp 11 or something, and I'm like, oh, and then I'll try that and be like, okay, cool. And that's sometimes that's just a helpful way out. But the reason that's useful to me is because I know enough about chords and harmony to say like, okay, that's a reasonable assumption for where this could go. And I could see how the melody would change to follow this unexpected chord. But if I was just doing that,
options,
if I was just doing that flying blind, I don't think I would have gained anything out of that, other than just going like, well, this beep beep beep, and that sounds good, and that could be fine. And like, maybe if that's your goal, is just like to get a song out with like some cool chords that are different, then great. But I think if the goal is to understand the inner workings of it, then a lot of those tools don't facilitate that very much. Brian,
I mean, they provide you with like a quick fix. And that's
Brian Byrne has a question you might have an answer for. Would force feedback be useful on the Osmos?
Force feedback meaning like vibration, right? Is it what?
Oh, that's the question. I don't know.
I think force feedback is like video games thing.
In the meantime,
on a racing wheel. Okay. No, probably not. It would probably just distract me, to be honest.
Yeah,
because that's what gaming. It's like on a gaming wheel, like it'll essentially physically move one or more of the devices, like controls or something like that. Like it'll sort of.
I mean, like if you hit a wall, it'll jerk the wheel back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Kind of like those fancy Roland pianos where like the keys vibrate when you play them, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, that would probably just distract me and piss me off.
Recommendations for a sampler VST that's not decent sampler. Pigments is pretty good for sampling, actually. Like the multi-sample mapping, and that's pretty okay.
Well, I mean, Falcon.
Yeah. Falcon's like going off the fucking deep end with sampling. I think if you're looking for something simple, Ableton has simpler and sampler. Those are great. Reaper has the automatic sampler or auto sampler 5000, whatever it's called. FL has SliceX can function as a sampler, if I'm not mistaken. Direct Wave. Most DAWs have like a stock sampler that you could use, that you could just like drag a sample into. I would look at whatever DAW you have and try the stock sampler. If that's not doing enough for you, Pigments maybe, because it does pretty good sampling stuff now. Other than that, yeah, like going up to Falcon and stuff is the other big option.
Yeah, if you want a sampler, I would just, if you want like a really, a great scriptable, like if you actually want to go that far, and then that doesn't mean that you have to know how to code, but like you could download tons of Lua scripts, and Falcon comes with all those like
the factory library is insane. Yeah,
it's crazy.
All right, I'll let you answer this one. I'm going to scroll through any more questions, and I have one I think is good to end on. Have you tried the Novation Circuit tracks, or would the Polyend play be straight up more worth it? I want to make music more intuitive / hands-on / fun than using Ableton alone, I assume.
Yeah. I mean, I've played with them. I've played with the Novation boxes. I'm not going to be objective about this because I'm close with Polyend as a team, and B, the play is very much a result of a lot of people's feedback, mine being one of those people. Like I've had one long before it came out, the sort of prototype of it, and then that sort of not changed, but I guess defined where the firmware went to support, and and then beyond that, and because it is something that was like initially the Piotr's idea, and then it kind of got refined by feedback from everybody else, as this happens in like almost every company. This isn't a unique situation or something. It's so I'm not going to be objective on that. The play is very much the generative things on it. It's very much designed to give you to get you like 30% done with the track, to get you through that like first part. And that's where most people, when they sit down, especially people who are busy and they're coming off work and they have to do something, they have to do their laundry or something, and they just want to jam, it gets you done with that hard part where you have to like select the style, or select the thing, then sort of punch in the notes and get that first spark of inspiration. It really just lays that out for you, and then you could get on with that and then turn it into something of your own. And that's why I like it so much. And with the newer version, with Play Plus and the newer firmware, it gets a lot deeper too, and you could really make some crazy stuff.
Well, and the synth engines in it are pretty neat.
They seem great.
Yeah, having played with both, and I thought it was interesting. My wife, who is like sort of into making music, not like super deep into it, but I let her play with the play and also with the tracks, and she wanted to keep the tracks. She really liked how immediate that was, and I think it was because the play does a whole lot, and I don't think she understood why you would do these things, or why you would do this.
Yeah.
So the tracks I had fun with, like just noodling on my kitchen counter with, or like it's one of those ones that was really small where I could like take it in a backpack with me somewhere, and I think it's fun for that. But the play is equally like portable but a lot deeper. So I think if you're far enough along into music where I don't know, enough that you want to expand beyond the DAW, then the play might be more suitable. I don't really want to say that the tracks is like watered down. It's actually pretty powerful, especially when you have the Novation app or cloud, whatever they call it, where you can change like the synth settings inside of it and whatever. But I feel like it was just more of a jamming thing where I could like maybe come up with like a little bit of an idea, whereas on the play I feel like I can come up with a good chunk of what I could finish as a song.
I feel like Jay Nornak has been they've recently bought a play and
oh right,
yeah, like pretty much made an album already.
Yeah,
like,
it's really, really fun, and I like it. And I mostly use, like, caveat here being I mostly use my play as a MIDI sequencer, and it fucks
it
for
is
that.
so good for that. Yeah, and it's
like,
so, and people are just like,
wild.
yeah, but it's buggy, and it's like, not really. It really, I've never had any sort of issue with like a fun. I mean, maybe I'm just not using it in the same way, but like. I mean, I have a Polyan Seek, which is a way more expensive thing. It's up there. Oh,
that's the big like paddleboard looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and that's why it's on top of my piano. But I never turn the thing on because I have a play. You don't even need the Play Plus. Like you get the much less expensive play, and it has all the same MIDI features. It's crazy.
So I think that the Novation tracks and stuff would be really fun if you just want something to like jam on, and like you could do just enough to make like a pretty good performance on it. The song mode is pretty fun, and it does a lot with that.
Performance modes are, because you could have you could have 128 different pattern variations. No, I'm sorry, you could have 128 patterns, but 16 variations per pattern per 16 instruments. Or per 8 instruments
on the play. Like, I was talking about the tracks here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But the tracks is pretty similar, where it stores like kind of like Ableton clip launcher. So it does a lot of that, and I feel like that the tracks does just enough to where like you could really get like a cool live performance sort of vibe from it. Where if you were just making like a skeleton of something, I just never felt like I was able to push it far enough to where I was like, okay, now we're really like cooking. It was. Yeah. I don't want to call it like a toy, but it was just like it was fun enough to be interesting, but not powerful enough to where like it's something I would want to regularly pull out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But yeah, the play, especially with like the MIDI stuff and the sequencing and whatever, it's insane. And all the clips you can store, like you can make fucking entire DJ sets on the play if you really felt so inclined.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
There was one small question: why do you play bluegrass? Do you play bluegrass?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I listen to some of it, but I don't.
I was gonna say I play bluegrass to like sing and get drunk too.
Yeah, I don't have the skills. I'm like amazed by bluegrass. I love it.
Bluegrass is like jazz, where some of the musicians that play like bluegrass stuff can just like play shit you can't even think about, and it's insane to watch them. Yeah.
Yeah, like and especially like some of the vocal harmonies are just like really just foreign to me, and that's why I like about it so much. But yeah, I listen to bluegrass a lot more than one would expect, I suppose.
All right, I gotta find this question because this is the one we're gonna end on. My stupid tablet fucking lost it. Okay, here we go. Final question. Pez S wants to know: when you have no projects in hand, do you make patches, samples, or what else is your quote nothing to do go-to activity?
I just write music.
Write music?
Yep.
Yeah, I think kind of same. Yeah, just like write music, come up with ideas. If I'm just not in like a musical mood, then yeah, I might do some patching or just like free writing, like for writers, just kind of that where I'll just like improvise. I really just like improvising, and I try to record those sometimes because then that might turn into something later. Otherwise, I like going hiking a lot and shooting video clips and stuff. Sometimes I'll just go film like random B-reel or whatever. But yeah, cooking is like my non-musical activity that I like. Or playing video games sometimes. Like I got to be in a mood to do that. But yeah, for me, cooking's like my nothing else to do. Go do stuff if I'm just like not in the music mood or whatever. Yeah. But usually all things end at me in front of my computer playing with music shit.
Yeah, I mean, I go hiking like almost every day. Well, some days I tend to the ducks, and then other days I go hike. But yeah, I live like just south of a national park, so it's
right. Yeah, so it's like there's lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, workouts are.
Yeah, go to the gym, do things like that. But I feel like no matter what, just I'll do other things, cook or go play with like Blender or do whatever. But like I feel like at the end of the day, the one thing I end up doing, is just like music stuff, improvising, noodling, or just like goofing with stupid patch ideas and seeing where that goes. And like, trying to make the most ridiculous patch I can on something and then try to turn that into like 16 bars of something.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to like get into a gym where I don't get punched in the face. That's
getting a little old for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like enjoy normal gyms, and I really wish I did. But
I like the one we finally found because for a while we did like the Planet Fitness type thing, like the subscription gym that's just like a bunch of people on treadmills and then like kids running around screaming and all the equipment's always fucking broken and stuff. And yeah, Planet Fitness just made me laugh because they were like, it's Pizza Tuesday at Planet Fitness, and it's like
Tootsie Rolls on the
and it was like, this is bizarre. And then the equipment was always fucked up. Then we did Crunch, which was like, I feel like Crunch was more oriented towards like weightlifting, at least to a degree, because they had like free weights and stuff, which was okay, but it was always really busy. So we just ended up finding this really, really small, like super small town gym that has like 4 treadmills and a couple ellipticals and then just like free weights and stuff everywhere, and it's amazing because there's like only 5 or 6 people there ever, and it's it's not the cleanest, nicest gym in the world, and it's more expensive than Planet Fitness and stuff by a long shot. But I think Planet Fitness and stuff makes their money on knowing that you're not going to want to come back and you're going to be too lazy to go cancel.
Right.
But yeah, I really like the super small town gym we found because lots of good weights, lots of good things to do. And they have like bags to punch and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's nice because there's not people there. And that's the thing that probably turns me off from going the most, is like listening to a bunch of dude bros go like constantly.
Yeah, I go to boxing gyms and I generally, or MMA gyms, and I generally go when they're not that crowded. I generally try to just work out on my own, but I can't stop like mansplaining. Like I'll just see like a sparring match and like there will be some new kid or something and I'll just be like, oh, put your head forward a little bit. And then, by the end of the week, I'm like sparring with like 20-year-olds and I'm just like, I can't stop doing it. But I mean, whatever. I mean, I guess it's better than not going to the gym, but
yeah. Gyms are hard. You got to find like just the right one that has like the right stuff you want to do, not enough people to where it's annoying to go, and like close enough to where you're actually going to show up and go to the gym.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just do yard work every day.
You could do that. Yeah, just go out and lift dirt every day. That's the takeaway from the stream. Lift dirt every day.
Dig yourself a student.
All right. Well, I think that is it for Charity Stream Week night number 4. I know we've had some donations during the stream. I know some super chats did some stuff because they can't buy it directly through Amazon because Jeff Bezos is a dick. So I will do some donations directly instead. If you have donated anything, you can verify the donation in my Discord, link down below, and we'll enter you for the giveaway from all of our lovely sponsors up here. I have prize bundles every single night. Tomorrow night is the last night of Charity Stream Week. My goal is to have all these Amazon wish lists cleared out. I believe wish list number 3 was cleared out, so it's just 1 and 2 are left. So I think we can make it happen. And tomorrow night I will be cooking and doing some hot wings challenge while I wait for the thing I'm cooking to cook. I did get the Hot Ones sauces. There was a little pack of those my wife got me. So I have their buffalo one, which I think is like a hot buffalo. Some other one that's like a verde sauce, so something really spicy. And then there's a little bottle of the Last Dab. I don't know if you've watched Hot Ones. So I think that's the one with like I don't know if it's the Reaper or if it's the Pepper X or whatever the Last Dab one is. So that'll be interesting. And then at Walmart, she found this like wooden case of hot sauces, and there's like 10 or 15 of them in there, and they're all different kinds. So I'll be cooking.
I feel like I've never gotten anything that I felt was even remotely spicy at Walmart. So
I'm curious because it looks like it's a wooden case and it's got all these little things, and it's all like it's not Game of Thrones, but it looks very Game of Thrones-y, and all the things are like dragon themes. And I don't know what the sauces are. Allegedly they're hot, because some of them are like warning hot, but usually when you get something like that from Walmart, it's like a joke. It's Tabasco sauce. And then I do have some secret hot sauces left of Carolina Reaper and whatever, so maybe I'll throw some of those on some wings. So it's going to be doing some hot ones, and then I'll be cooking, and while it's in the oven, I'm going to eat a bunch of super spicy hot wings, and hopefully by the end of that, we'll have all the dog food and cat food and treats and collars and what not donated, and I'm going to absolutely fucking annihilate my toilet Saturday morning.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Exactly. So thank you for joining me, Ben. I know Jeremy's gone, so we'll say thanks in the chat to Jeremy, and he'll read it later maybe. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Ben, again, and that's it. Bye.
Bye.